Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, you as well.
Do you do cold plunge? We
Um,
were just talking about it.
Yeah, it's something that I do occasionally, but I don't have one at my place, so it's not a regular part of my routine, but I would like it to be, and I guess I could do the cold shower thing, but it's
Do you live in an apartment?
Yeah, from my understanding, it's not as I don't know, effective overall to like you want to be fully immersed and kind of get the full experience.
Yeah, I don't think it's as effective, but it's pretty effective. Especially you live in the fucking frozen communist shithole of Canada.
Yeah.
It's cold. You get real cold water.
When's the last time you've been up there? It's
I don't go up there anymore.
You refuse, right?
Yeah, I just fucking what they've done up there, what they did with the trucker rally, and what Trudeau's doing with guns, and what they're trying to clamp down on censorship on the internet. That guy can eat shit. Like that place needs 100% an overhaul of government. Like they're sliding down that dangerous road of communism that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's funny because even though I'm in Canada, it seems like the prevalence of political information and media is so much lesser than what goes on in the States because it's just far more interesting. But even the alternatives that I'm aware of on the political, side of things that are trying to, get Trudeau out and replace him, not much better from my understanding. It seems like everyone's every time I go on Twitter, I see Jordan Peterson shitting on some other guy who's like the next best option, apparently.
Well, he likes that Pierre guy. What's that guy's name?
I don't know.
Pierre Polivier. What is his name? There's the guy who's the reasonable Republican type character or conservative character. What is the... I think you said it. Yeah, Pierre Polivier. That guy's very smart.
Okay.
He's very interesting. There's a really funny video. I don't know if you ever saw it, but he's eating an apple and he's talking to this reporter, and the reporter keeps asking him really stupid questions. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, what does that mean? And like he catches this reporter, like, says who? Who's saying this? And have you seen that video?
I've never seen it.
Jamie will find it.
Currently, you're obviously taking the populist pathway.
What does that mean?
Well, appealing to people's more emotional levels, I would guess. I mean,
What do you mean by that?
certainly you tap very strong ideological language quite frequently.
Like what?
Left wing, this and that, right wing. I mean,
It's like just buzzwords.
ideological
Talk about. I never really talk about left
But
or right.
anyways, a lot
I
of
don't
people.
really believe in that.
Okay.
Taking a
It's a longer conversation, but it's very interesting because it just shows you the level of the level of sophistication of these fucking dopey reporters that are covering this kind of shit. Now they are just trying to always play gotcha stuff.
The title was, "Does it hurt him?" I wonder what the consensus is of like the average Canadian, if they think it's, oh, this guy's legit, or if they're like, this guy doesn't care about us at all.
It's a good question. I mean, I think propaganda affects everyone, and I think Canadian propaganda is a little more tightened down and controlled. What they did with the truckers, like, for example, like the way Trudeau just openly labeled them as racist and misogynist. And then when people were donating to this trucker movement, when they were trying to, have this protest, they closed down people's bank accounts who
super
donated.
fucked up.
I mean, that is third world country shit.
Yeah.
The fact that they think they can do that in Canada is insane.
Have you seen the ban of news in Canada, to where if you're located in Canada, you can't access news outlets now because the news outlets or the social media platforms featuring the news outlets refuse to pay Canada their own fee, essentially. So if I'm in Canada and I go on Instagram and try to go to a news page that's outside of Canadian media, it'll literally say can't view, unavailable in Canada. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's nuts. That's like China.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally like what they do in foreign countries that are run by dictators.
Yeah, dude. The bills, it seems like every couple of weeks there's some new gong show of a bill that everyone says is gonna, wipe out creators off social media or force you to make Canadian content only, which is like this super nebulous thing that you have no idea. Am I only going to be able to talk about like maple syrup and beavers and shit, or like what's it going to be? You don't know. So that's a concern as somebody on YouTube, especially. So yeah, but
I've heard concerning things that my podcast at one point in time might not even be available in Canada because of this.
Yeah,
like that's a concern that this could be used in that manner to stop people from accessing podcast, especially if I'm openly critical of that shithole communist government.
Oh yeah, you definitely won't be on there. Yeah, if you make Canadian enough content, then you'll get promoted though.
Yeah, okay. I'll start talking about hockey.
Yeah.
I'll start talking about Georges St. Pierre and hockey.
Yeah. Does George still live in Canada, or?
I believe he does. Okay. He's here a lot. He's here in Austin a lot because he trains with the Danaher squad. Gordon Ryan and those guys. So they're all out here.
He's retired, but like, what's his current lifestyle now? Is it just like training and social media, or?
Fortunately, George is a man of leisure because he made a shitload of money fighting, and so he's really well off, and he doesn't have to do anything, but he does enjoy traveling and training. And the guy still is involved in martial arts as just a vehicle for developing his life. So he is super fit. I mean, like top-notch fit. The guy still does this rigorous exercise routine. He still trains with all of the, like, these guys are professional jiu-jitsu competitors. So with the Danaher team, it's a very unusual team. I know you've covered Gordon and his steroid use and all that jazz. And what I like about Gordon is he's fucking super open about it. He's not hiding shit.
Yeah.
He's like, look, everybody does it. This is what I do. I'm the best.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, but no.
Yeah.
But what they do is they train 365 days a year.
It's wild.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons why you need steroids.
Yeah.
Like, that is not physically possible with a normal endocrine system to be recovering from 6 and 8 hour workouts every day, 365 days a year. You're going to get breakdown. There's just no... I don't give a fuck how many ice baths you take.
Yeah.
These guys are training all day long. They're doing different levels of training, right? So they're doing weightlifting training. So most of Gordon's girlfriend was a professional bodybuilder. And so most of his is just size and build. It's not really like functional training like you see the old videos of Alexander Karelin. Do you know who he is?
Yeah.
So you see that guy doing kettlebells and fucking, shield casts with giant steel plates over his head. Gordon's not doing any of that stuff. It's a lot of bodybuilding stuff. They do that. Then they're doing drills where they're analyzing positions and finding problems in these positions, and they'll go over tape. And it's fucking meticulous, man. I mean, you have to have. I don't know if they're on Adderall, but I would imagine that would help. But something is very different about the way they train. And then they're drilling, and then they're doing live sparring. So they're rolling, they're going from certain positions. They have goals to get to a certain position or to avoid a certain position. And they're advancing faster than any group of jiu-jitsu people on the planet Earth. But you have to be a fucking maniac. You have to be a 365-day a year, fully committed. You miss nothing. I don't give a fuck about your holidays. No one gives a fuck about Christmas. Fuck you, it's your birthday. Get in there. Everybody's in there.
Is the goal, like I've seen them on UFC Fight Pass and some of these new, more, they seem to be expanding in their reach. What is like the goal of the top guys in that sport? Is it typically to just stay at the top of the sport, or do a lot of them transition to MMA at some point?
A lot of them will transition, but a lot of them don't want brain damage.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just don't. I don't think Gordon makes so much money doing just jiu-jitsu. I mean, he makes millions of dollars every year just selling videos.
It's crazy how he still has is it like actual DVDs? Like he has he has like media he sells in like DVD format. I think.
I don't believe so. I think it's a digital download.
I would assume, yeah.
Yeah,
I could
at
have
this
sworn somebody said he like sold physical DVDs.
I'm sure he probably does that as well, but I don't even know if I have a DVD
Yeah,
player.
me neither. That's why it seemed odd to me.
Which is so crazy because I would have never thought that a physical media player was just going to go away.
Oh, yeah.
And everything would just be in the fucking air.
Yeah. No, it's wild to see. If you look at the evolution of consoles over even the past like 20 years, it's like these little wild. I guess now would be perceived as like totally foreign to Gen Z or whatever.
Well, I'm old as fuck, dude. When I was a kid, I remember Pong.
Yeah.
I was a little kid, and you could play a game on the television, and it was nuts.
Yeah.
Nobody could believe it. And you had like this little dot that would go doot doot, and you would like with your little scroll wheel, you would roll your paddle up to hit the dot doot 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 doot. And me and my sister would play Pong, and we were like, "This is crazy. We're playing on TV. We're playing a video game on TV."
What's the last game that you were into, or did you like stop yourself after it was Doom, right?
It was Quake.
Or Quake, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I didn't stop myself. Jamie and I and Jeff, a few years back, we had a local area network room in our old studio in LA, and it got to be a real problem where it's just too much fun. So we would get out of a podcast at 3-ish, and I would be playing till 6, 7 at night, and then I'd go home, and I didn't feel good. I'd get out of there, I'd be frazzled, your adrenaline's frying, you're like, Jesus Christ, I feel fucking terrible.
Yeah, it's like, have you ever heard of Super Smash Bros. Before?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
So my girlfriend got me what was, I guess, the best and worst gift at the same time. A couple of years ago, it was a Nintendo Switch for Christmas, and that game. And I pretty much swore off games years ago because I just knew once I got into them, it's gonna fuck my days. Like it very much saps my bandwidth, and the dopamine hit you get from it is insane. It's like a drug essentially.
Insane.
So I played it, and it's probably the most addictive thing in my life right now. So I'm highly considering just getting rid of it and getting it out of my house. It's almost like junk food where you have to keep it out of the house to not go ham on it. With the games, it's the same thing, dude. And the graphics now and all the colors and the vibrancy and everything compared to Pong back in the day, I can just imagine what it does to your expectation of like dopamine hits and then what other stuff in life feels like reward wise, like proportionally to it. It's probably like fucking night and day compared to the Pong days.
Night and day. Yeah. We were playing Quake Champions, right? And this is a game that you play, you have headphones on, and you can hear sounds behind you. You can hear them to the right, to the left. Super sophisticated. When you're running through the water, you hear splashing sounds. You have immersive graphics. You're running through these tunnels and rockets are flying over your head and it lights the wall as the rockets are missing you.
Yeah.
I mean, the shadows, everything. It's so insanely vivid and so fun. This is Quake.
Oh, damn.
And this is how fast it moves, too. And when you shoot people, they turn into fucking mist. Look at that.
Enemy has the quad.
Quad is quad power. That gives you 4 times the power. Imagine playing this.
No, yeah.
And for hours a day.
And it's just like playing in teams where there's no real end in sight because you never win the game. You just keep playing.
Yeah, you start a new game.
Over and over.
Over and over and over again. And then you can hop on these servers. So, like, if you're at home by yourself, you could just hop on a server, and there's always people playing.
What is is this the most recent iteration of the game?
Yeah, this is the most recent.
Okay.
It's so exciting.
It's wild because...
This is what you're playing?
Oh, yeah. Dude, so this game is brutal because it has seemingly infinite amounts of maps. There's probably like look at that shit. Whoa. All the colors and stuff. It's like your brain doesn't even know how to process it at first. And there's I don't know how many characters, like almost 100 or something, and it's essentially the main or the most sought after characters or protagonists and antagonists or whatever from major video games. So you're basically getting to play with every most popular character of every game ever, essentially.
Oh, wow.
So even if you win a game, the amount of iterations of maps and players and different things you can do, it never really gets stale. So you're just sitting there over and over grinding through this thing with no end in sight. And the wild thing, too, is oftentimes I'm just playing against a computer, but I'll actually get pissed off when I lose. Like, I have to avenge myself and go beat the computer. So I'll be like, I'm going to sit here till I beat this fucking guy, even though it's not even a human. And then I'll burn an hour. And I'll be like,
yeah.
And that was my mentally sharp, one of however many hours.
Well, there's so many of these games like this, and there's so many different styles of game. If you're into this style of game, or if you're into, like, Half-Life. You ever play Half-Life?
Heard of it, seen it, never played it though.
It's a game about like some science experiment gone wrong that opens up some portal and aliens come out and you got to fight them, and it's in this laboratory, and these games are so immersive. They're just so, it's like you're playing a movie that you're participating in with insane graphics. And they're really well mapped out and planned out, and they make them really challenging and exciting. And if you're a person that's into those things, like fuck all your free time. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
There's a lot of people that make good livings out of it, which is the crazy thing, though.
I know, that's what's weird now.
So it's like, it's almost hard. I don't even know what it would be like as a parent to argue with your kid about if it's a good use of time or not. Because it's like, the kid could be like, I'm making more money than every other fucking kid in my class.
Yeah, they might be making more money than their parents.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, if your dad has you got to get a job, son.
Have you seen how many Twitch subscribers I have?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you could, if you become popular and play games online, you can make a substantial living. So, like, if your kid was playing golf, and the kid said, I want to be a professional golfer. You're like, well, are you winning tournaments? Or do you have a chance here? Like, maybe this is a good career path for you, Johnny. Yeah. But no parent wants to go, what the fuck are you doing? League of Legends?
Yeah.
My son's a League of Legends player on Twitch. What?
Yeah.
Oh, what did you do?
Yeah. And you sit there and just rack up donations while you play.
Yeah.
The thing that's wild to me, and obviously people enjoy doing this, so I'm not, shitting on it necessarily, but I can't fathom doing this myself, is sitting there and watching somebody play for hours. But this is literally how it supports them as a creator, is watching the live stream. So this means that there's thousands of people at home eating dinner or just sitting there and watching a guy play rather than playing themselves. I'm just like,
I would have never imagined that would be a gigantic thing. Like it is.
Because it's oftentimes when you're playing, too, your commentary is surface level because you're trying to focus, especially if you're really good. So you're just watching a guy concentrate and play and not really engage with you in any meaningful way, and you're just sitting there as an observer and somehow finding it worthwhile to chuck money at the guy, sit there and watch him for hours. Like, I don't know. I just can't fathom.
And then there's a whole industry of hot girls, like, in their underwear playing video games.
Yeah, or like, I think there's a whole section on, I don't know if you've ever seen Twitch. It's a platform I'm so not familiar with, but I should for, to understand what's going on with the gaming market. But like, it's like hot tub streamers or like inflatable pool streamers. Yeah. And these chicks just like put on a live stream and then get in a bathing suit and sit in a like inflatable pool in their house and just like wait around and talk to you, I guess. And rack up millions over the year.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Some will sell the water that they were in. Just like multi-level supply chain management.
They'll sell the water, bottling it up in front of you in mason jars. This
Literally.
One's for you, Doug.
It's funny because you say that as a joke, but it's actually what happens.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and they make bank off it.
The number of incels buying pond water from Twitch streamers.
Yeah. No, I can't imagine like what mindset you would have to be in to justify that purchase. You
got to be really obsessed with that
like,
person.
do you get the jar of the mason jar and then you like jerk off to the water? Like,
probably.
I don't get it.
Yeah. But use the water to jerk off with.
Utility right there.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I guess. I'm just guessing. Maybe they put it on a shelf. Well, that's Debbie's water.
Yeah.
She's my favorite Twitch streamer.
It could be an investment, I suppose, but I can't imagine that playing out.
I don't believe that will be a worthwhile investment.
Me
but
neither.
but it's like what are the numbers of men in 2023 that are single? It's something absurd. It's an enormously large number of people that are single today, as opposed to in the past.
Yeah, I've seen Chris Williamson has like he often posts like random statistics that he sees, and sometimes the numbers. I don't know where these surveys come from because they're often the most wildly specific things. Or we surveyed men and 40% haven't talked to a girl in 3 years. I'm like, who are these dudes? But I believe it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty wild. Some of the stats that.
I see this headline, and I have a different interpretation of it, though. Most young men are single in 2023. Most women are not. It's like when you ask, the guys are like, no, I'm not tied up. But the girl's like, no, yeah, we're dating.
So the guys are lying, or the girls
just
are
don't
delusional?
view it the same
What's
way.
happening?
I would be highly skeptical that there's that many like player dudes that are taking up the majority.
I wouldn't even say, I'm not even saying players. I just don't think that they're not locked. We're not locked down. You're not living with me.
Right,
I haven't deleted my Tinder account yet.
Well, that's the big thing, right? The options that young people have today, dating single people have today with these dating apps is just, if anything seems like you're not in, I don't like the way she said this, or I don't like the way he did that, you're like, move on to the next swipe.
Yeah.
Like, you never get past this thing where, you try to, like, manage how to hang out with each other. Because, when you're dating, everyone has a different personality.
Yeah.
And some things that some people love, other people are like, hey, don't do that. And you're like, oh, all right. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I thought you liked it when I opened up the door. Like, whatever it is. It's like there's always going to be a thing that someone doesn't like. And everyone has so many options today. It's got to be, if you're an attractive person, a woman or a man, and you have a dating app today, like, the chances of you finding someone that makes you put away all those other options, because those options in a dating app are just as addictive, I would imagine, as some video games.
Oh, for sure.
Because you're engaging with new people.
Have you ever seen a girl go through her Tinder to show like how absurd it is for what the demand is for them relative
Honestly,
to
I
dudes?
haven't. I've seen
it's
people talk
wild.
about it online, but I've never seen anybody do it in person.
You could have like a 6 out of 10 who would 20 years ago or whatever not get that much attention if it weren't for social media and everything, going through her Tinder, and it's like match, 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 no match, match, match. Whereas for dudes, it's like nothing, 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 maybe match, nothing, 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 nothing. So it's like literally 10% of the dudes are getting 90% of the chicks. And then the supply demand ratio is not there. So I think a lot of dudes are single. I don't know if they want to admit it or not, but it's because
This happened also recently with those apps. They've been getting caught using bots to pump up their numbers.
I have heard of that. The dating apps will have like AI people, and they're just doing it so they get more engagement.
there's a lot of chicks that promote their OnlyFans and social media on Tinder too, and that's how they're going about it. So they're not even looking to date; they're just looking to pump their socials or like get a new OnlyFans subscriber from some simp that thought they were interested.
That's another one too, right? I mean, when do you bail out on that? So if you're a woman, let's say you're a woman and you're making, some of these women are making $100,000 a month just showing their feet and whatever.
Literally.
Yeah. And so all of a sudden you date this guy and you're really into him, and it becomes a meaningful relationship, and then this conversation comes up like, hey, how long are you going to show your asshole on,
Yeah,
on OnlyFans?
as long as they want.
And then she's like, well, I make $100,000 a month showing my asshole on OnlyFans. You're like, oh, all right. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know where this is going then.
It's like, do you make that showing
Yeah.
your asshole? No, I don't.
No, I don't. So then the guy has to like be in this position where the woman literally makes like 10 times more than he does showing her asshole.
Yeah.
And then he's got to somehow or another convince her to abandon that so they can live a life like a fucking Norman Rockwell book.
Let's just say, and maybe this is too extreme of a hypothetical, but let's just say you're in your 20s and you're dating somebody and she's an OnlyFans girl.
Yeah.
Is that a deal breaker for you?
No, if I'm in my 20s, it's not. No. If in my 20s, first of all, I'd be like, how are you making so much money? This is crazy. Can I show my asshole if I was in my 20s? But then you'd have to do it probably for gay guys because women
for sure.
are not going to pay. I would think that what I would do is just accept the fact that this isn't going anywhere. And then we're going to have some fun.
Okay, well, what if it's somebody that you thought would have potential as a serious long-term thing? Would that be the deal breaker? That
I think you'd probably know immediately that she has an OnlyFans. I don't think it would take long. I think if you waited a long time, like if you're dating 6 to 8 months, like how do you have all these shoes? Yeah. Like where'd you get this car? Like it was like what do you do for work? Yeah. If it was one of those things, and then you have an OnlyFans, and then you were already in love with this woman, that'd be an issue, I guess. Or maybe you just like shift gears and go, okay, I guess this is what I accept. I mean, it's possible, it's feasible for a woman to have a completely disconnected approach to what her OnlyFans is and think about only as this is just a business thing. I'm just making, I don't want to work at Wendy's. Yeah. And so I'm doing this and I am making extraordinary amounts of money and I'm going to invest this money in real estate and smart. You could look at it that way.
What would be the threshold of acceptable behavior on OnlyFans, though? Because it's like it ranges from like
bananas in your pussy.
Yeah, to like you could be just from what I understand is a lot of fitness industry girls too will they're already almost nude on Instagram essentially,
right?
And they will just post different iterations of the same poses or whatever in the same kind of clothes, but behind a paywall. And I guess some of the money they make is from talking to the dudes or the guys thinking they're talking to them, which is often like
that's what Andrew Tate did, right? That was Andrew Tate's whole thing. It's like having people pretend.
Yeah, he gets a lot of heat because I don't know if this is actually what he did, but what people are saying is he would type on behalf of the girls, which is like. I don't know. Some people say it's kind of gay. So, because it's like you're talking to a dude about, what you'd want to do with him and this and that, and speaking on behalf of the girl as if you are her, which presumably a lot of girls outsource to whoever they can get to do it or have, I don't know, some cookie cutter scripts or something.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's kind of a weird.
But if you were doing that, you would know exactly what to say to the guys because you know exactly what the guys want to hear. Because if you're just running a scam, I mean, it's not really gay unless you're getting aroused. Thinking about these guys jerking off to your words, which is a very gray area.
yeah. So it's a weird situation for sure.
It's definitely weird. Well, that's also the criticism that Andrew Tate has gotten about exploitation. So supposedly he would get these girls to fall in love with him, and then he would get them to go and do this stuff for him.
Yeah, it's wild how much content he has that exists from back then that he's so articulate and well-spoken but when he speaks about it, but then some of those videos are so vulgar and whatnot that it's hard to... I can imagine the people who are, very hard on him. You watch the old videos, it's pretty hard to side with him when you see those.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, you got to think of what a person like that is trying to do when they're first getting attention. You're trying to be as outrageous as possible to get as much people to think about what you're saying and talk about what you're saying and engage with it.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is to be like a character, an over-the-top, completely arrogant guy who's shirtless with sunglasses on, smoking a cigar, talking about hoes, and pimping hoes. It's like, is it a character or is it really you? And then when you find out, he actually does run these campsites and he does have these girls working for him. Okay. But then some of the girls talk and go, actually, he's like really nice and he was kind and he gave me this business opportunity. I wound up making a lot of money with it. And you're like, oh, okay. This is complicated. Like, how much of this is theater and how much of this is like, if it's your real feelings that, these women are subhuman little robot flesh creatures that you just extract money from.
Yeah. Any interactions I've had with the guy before he was, super famous and whatnot, I've always been positive too. Like, super nice guy.
Very intelligent guy.
Yeah. Super articulate.
Extraordinarily intelligent.
Yeah.
And,
absolutely. His brother too.
Yeah.
Doesn't get as much credit, but...
they're very, very smart guys. but boy, did they tap into. There's this thing that's going on where men do not feel like there's anyone that represents men in popular culture. Like what men actually talk about when they're alone, when men are just hanging out with men and not trying to impress women or trying to not get yelled at, the wild shit they talk about. And, if you can be the most exaggerated form of that, this world champion kickboxer standing there smoking a cigar, making fun of simps, and, that's very appealing to men because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like if you're never going to see that on CNN or NBC or it's not no mainstream media platform is ever going to tap into this what is obviously a lucrative market. Young guys who don't want to be like their parents, they don't want to be like their teachers, they don't want to be like any of these people they see around them that seem neutered and pot-bellied and fucking depressing and talking about equity and inclusiveness and they're like, Jesus fucking Christ. And then they see this guy and like, oh,
Yeah.
I like that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's definitely inspired discipline and
Yeah.
taking action, and it's like
Take responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's like a more problematic version of like what Jocko does or did. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But it's also different, because it's like, he really is in the pimp and hose business. I mean, it's like if you're running campsites like that, you're really, farming those girls out to make shitloads of money for you, for a bunch of suckers.
I can't even imagine what the life of a OnlyFans manager or something would be.
There's got to be a lot of them.
Oh, for sure.
I would assume. I know that there's a lot of people that they hire that manage the girls' DMs. So there's like companies, I guess. Is this the case? I've just been told this.
There's got to be agencies
Yeah.
that are, turnkey. We take care of.
We'll take care of it.
I weirdly got offered to be a recruiter for one of those.
Oh,
They
boom.
wanted to use my verified account. I was like, what is going?
Side hustle.
I mean, that's sneaky, but what?
So what did they want you to do?
DM chicks to offer them like you can be on OnlyFans. I was like,
Oh
they
God,
don't, like,
Jamie, do you know how bad that would turn out?
like they don't fucking know that already. Like, why would I have to tell them? But
so-
if I could convince them to do it, yeah, the return is I get a kickback of their revenue. I just remembered that as you guys are talking about it.
So when they contacted you, what did they say? Like, hey, Jamie, do you know a lot of
Yeah.
girls that are willing to take their
It's
clothes
like
off?
we've noticed your. It's one of these DMs I get from multiple accounts for various reasons. But like, we've noticed your account. You're, I have X amount of followers. You could probably be doing this kind of stuff on Instagram. If you do,
And how much would they give you?
I don't off the top of my head. I don't remember. I could check. I feel like it was 10, 20%, something like that. Somewhere in the range.
Oh, that's lucrative.
Yeah.
If you can get a bunch of really
'Cause they're-
fucking...
I've heard these guys are making 50%. The managers do. Like they just split it.
Wouldn't
seems
surprise
crazy.
me.
Yeah.
That seems crazy.
Well,
That
they're not
seems-
doing anything though. The girls don't do anything besides make the content, and then the managers are running the account. They're not even just doing
Still,
the
50%
messages.
seems
Yeah.
pretty high because without the girl, you don't have anything.
I think a lot of naivety around business operations, though, would definitely drive girls to think, I don't want to deal with, accounting. I don't
Yeah.
want to deal with this, and I don't even know how. So,
Right.
yeah, by all means, take 50. That's
Especially if someone can come to you with a pitch that says, look, you can do this and you can make $3,000 a month, or you can do this with us and you can make $150,000 a month.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you'll get 50%, we'll get 50%, but it's a much higher number that you're going to be dealing with.
yeah.
And you're not going to get there on your own. And we have this vast network, and we can also introduce you through other girls. Like other girls, like, this is my friend Cindy. Like, you'll see them do that on their Instagram page. Follow her. And then, they're just like pumping each other up like comics would do. Like, hey, go see Mike. He's playing at the Ha Ha. Really funny guy.
Yeah.
Cindy's got a great pussy. Check her out.
I wonder who the Joe Rogan of OnlyFans chicks is.
There's got to be one.
Yeah,
Who's
there's
just
got to be like
dominating the
a
game.
ringleader of all.
What's her?
Puts them all on, put
Iggy Azalea made
platforms.
48 million last year, I think is what I read. Oh, not in that way, I guess. Yeah, different way, but she's the top of.
Who-
Izzy
who is
Azalea?
it?
The
48 million.
rapper?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Jesus. 48 million?
Jesus.
God damn. So now you go, show your asshole, baby. I want a Ferrari.
It's like for 48 million, like you better be.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, also, you could just do that for 3 or 4 years, and you don't have to do shit for the rest of your life. Izzy Azalea, the new queen of OnlyFans. Not even Cardi B can match her racy content. Damn, she's got a hot body.
48.
There you go. 48 million. Good for her.
Jesus.
45
for
for
her.
Cardi B. Second.
That's still pretty good.
But here's the wild one. Is Tyga, who's a guy.
Is this like self-reported though? Like, how do they even get these
They've
figures?
shown those. Most of these have come from them sharing the figure like online. Like they'll take a screenshot or something. But I don't know specifically each one.
Scroll up. We can see the two of them. She's hot. I get it.
It's like when you see, I don't know, like when you Google somebody's like net worth or something. It's like, is that actually what it is? I feel like probably not. But
Yeah, it's right here. When you say that, it says her net worth is 15, but she just made
Reportedly
48.
had a network
got it.
prior to that. 48 million from the website written a 320% hike in her overall value.
that's crazy.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense if you're just a business person, and especially if you're a celebrity in that world, like the female rap world. Like, what's the longevity of that? I mean, you've got a few that hang in there, but I mean, how many like long-term rap females have been super successful? I'm a little ignorant in that genre.
Yeah, I definitely don't follow it closely, so I'm not sure either.
How's that Tiger guy making all that money?
That I would have to.
He's got me
guess.
intrigued. What do I have to do?
I mean,
An extra 20 a year?
Yeah, that seems
What I gotta
pretty insanely high for a dude who probably doesn't post like porn videos. I
Right. Like,
think.
what if we had one episode of the JRE OnlyFans where we did it only in jock straps? How would that work?
probably would need a jockstrap camera. Maybe I don't know.
It would be like all gay guys.
You could say you're in a jockstrap right now, and nobody would know.
That's true.
There's no
That's
camera.
true. That's true. Women don't pay for guys though. There's just like for Tyga, who's paying for him?
I've only heard there's a guy that's on the challenge. His name's Devin. This TV show on MTV, and he makes a lot of money doing that. But I think he said, it's all guys.
I
Just
feel
gay
like
guys.
unless there
Yeah,
was
makes sense.
full-blown porn for gay dudes to buy, I would be very skeptical of 20 million. Even if he's
Yeah.
like a A-list celeb, like that seems insane.
Is Tyga an A-list celeb?
He's like in the Kardashian world, so
He is.
yeah.
Oh. What does he look like?
I don't know what A-list actually means, by the way.
I don't know what it means anymore. It used to mean nothing.
Yeah.
It used to mean
I
you were
forget
only
which
movie stars.
I think he might have been with Kendall. He's on the screen.
That guy makes
He
20
said-
million a year.
He's had popular songs, but I would imagine 20 million in a year from OnlyFans.
Do we have any examples of his OnlyFans content?
You
gotta pay for that, bro.
But there's got to be something you could find on fucking Reddit.
My understanding is they're pretty intense with
Yeah.
making sure it stays off of
That's part of
behind
where
the
the money
paywall.
goes. So this says he deleted his account.
Oh, so his
But he
account is
launched
him and a bunch
A
of
different
chicks?
thing.
That's what his thing is?
Because it's like, who's paying for that? That's just like Instagram hype content. you
Well,
would
if
think.
it's him and a bunch of chicks, I could see how you could get guys to pay for that.
Oh, is it?
Oh, it's his rod. Hold up. Go back to that. Go back to that.
Click too many things real fast. I didn't want to be staring at it.
Go back to that.
Maybe this one. Yeah,
So he does show his cock.
I'd assume.
Well,
that's him.
assuming by this one picture
How do we
in
not?
Reddit that it's also
Right.
him.
You're right.
But that also could be a filter that makes his dick bigger.
Yeah.
I bet they have that. They have
Probably,
lip filters.
for sure.
They have filters for your eyes. They give you eyelashes.
If
and-
girls are doing that, you'd be insane to not do it.
yeah,
for
you
your
want to make
dick.
some money or not, Tyga?
Yeah.
Get that dick filter running. Tyga starts OnlyFans model management company, and he's looking for clients.
So he would also be incentivized to say he makes more from his own to exemplify how, revenue
Right.
driving he is.
But are they allowing, like,
Tommy Lee.
self-declaration? Tommy Lee's got his cock out.
Jesus.
He's got that 60-year-old
He
fucking
started this whole thing.
weathered cack. So Tommy Lee joins OnlyFans. So Tommy Lee's showing his hog.
Yep.
Okay.
So
I guess you can kind of get away with that if you're Tommy Lee.
Yeah, I guess.
I had a meeting with Tommy Lee once when he wanted to fight Kid Rock.
Oh,
A buddy of mine is one of Tommy Lee's bodyguards. He's like,
Okay.
Tommy wants to meet you. I'm like, okay. So I go to one of their concerts. When they were doing that show, Rockstar Supernova. Do you remember Rockstar Supernova?
no, when was that?
It was like a television show where they put together a band. They made a band.
Okay.
and Tommy Lee was a part of it. Who else was in that? Who is that? What was that really handsome guy? Dave Navarro. Wasn't he in that too? Who are these guys? I don't know, but Tommy Lee was a part of it, right?
I'm looking at the pictures. I don't. Oh, there's their names. So Lucas Rossi, Gilby Clark, Tommy Lee, Johnny Colt, Jason Newsted from Metallica.
Yeah. So they had this thing. So anyway, we went to the concert. Good show. And then afterwards, I got to meet Tommy. And Tommy was like, I want to fight Kid Rock. I want to kick his fucking ass. Because, like, Kid Rock had dated Pamela Anderson. And Tommy used to be married to Pamela Anderson. So they had some fucking... So they were trying to set up a fight. Like, Kid Rock and Tommy Lee in a fight.
So what were you going to do?
I was going to, like, introduce him to trainers. And I just wanted to... He just wanted to talk to me about it. I did not know what he wanted to talk about. And so then when I got there, I was like, okay. What's your lifestyle? Like, how committed are you to this? Like, how much can you train? Like, how much time do you think you need to prepare? Like, do you have any experience at all in combat sports? Like, do you just think you're going to kick his ass because you hate him? And Kid Rock, like, I would put my money on that motherfucker. Like, he seems like a guy who's hit people in the head with a rock before.
So why didn't it happen?
Oh, I don't know. A lot of people... There's a lot of those things that people talk about that never actually take place because
Like
the reality of it.
Elon versus Zuck.
I was supposed to fight Wesley Snipes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was real. Like, that was lawyers in negotiation. I was training twice a day for 6 months. That was fucking hard. I was so tired all the time. And I only got, like, a taste of what it's like to train like an MMA fighter. Because I was training knowing that the fight was eventually going to take place, so I was building up a base. So I was kickboxing every morning, and then I was doing jiu-jitsu every night. And I was doing it for 6 months.
So why did it fall through?
I think because he knew I was going to kill him. I think in the beginning, he thought that he would be able to stuff takedowns and he would kick my ass, and then he found out, no, I'm a Taekwondo champion.
Yeah.
And I'm a kickboxer. I'm way better at standing up than I am on the ground.
Yeah.
And then... I don't know what happened, but there was a bunch of different demands. Like, at first it was going to be 50-50, and then, he wanted it to be 60-40, and I'd agreed to everything. I said, and then finally it was like, okay, give me just this amount of money and give him whatever the fuck else you want. I'm like, I'm going to fucking strangle that guy. Like, let me get a hold of him. Yeah. And it never happened. But I just wanted to this would be a perfect thing to do. Like, he's never fought in MMA before. I've never done it before. This would be fun, and I'll make a lot of money. And the idea of this guy who had never had any competitive fights at all, ever, that he thought he could do that. Like, okay, like, you're not going to know what that feels like. Like, I might have done it a long time ago, but I've done it. I know what that feels like when the referee's looking at you, are you ready? And then that's a moment that if you've never experienced that moment ever in your life and the bell goes ding and you're like, oh, shit, is this real? There's just going to be too much weirdness for him to process, And
I guess it wouldn't be good to have that blemish on his history. Just kidding.
No. I just, I think he was doing a lot of blow, if I had to guess. Because he was in a bad situation where he owed a lot of taxes. And he had some advisor that was like, one of those dudes that tells you, it's unconstitutional to pay taxes. Look, right here. There's a few of those guys out there that will get you convinced that, they're not going to prosecute you because then it'll have to be revealed. The taxes are against the Constitution. And there's a lot of wacky people that people fall under the influence of, unfortunately. And he wound up going to jail.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, he wound up going to jail for tax evasion.
Damn, dude.
How much time did Wesley Snipes do in jail? Taxes are a weird one, right? Because if you owe taxes, like if they find out you owe, you don't just pay them back. They put you in a cage.
Yeah.
They did it to Lauryn Hill from the Fugees.
Dude, it's like the most odd.
Yeah. Here it goes. Snipes was convicted on misdemeanor charges of willful failure to file federal income tax returns in 2008. Was sentenced to 3 years in prison.
Damn.
After an unsuccessful appeal, he served 28 months in federal prison.
Jesus.
God damn.
I think Shakira is also dealing with something like that right now.
Yeah, I think she got off, though.
Oh, really?
Didn't something happen where she won her case? I think was that in Spain?
Yeah, something like that. It's like, I wonder what, like, getting off, like, even entails in that. Because if they determined you owed a bunch of money and haven't paid, How do you just did and they didn't catch it somehow?
Right.
Or,
How much paperwork do you have?
She struck a deal.
She struck a deal.
A lot of money to pay.
oh, damn.
Yeah.
Accepted the charges.
She accepted the charges and a fine of 50% of the amount owed, more than 7.3 million. Is that pounds? What is that little mark?
Euros?
So she got to not pay taxes and then paid half the amount. How's that make sense?
I don't know.
And an extra 500.
Oh, you just pay an extra $438K and you don't have to go to prison.
Yeah.
That's got to be unique to where she is, I would think, right?
Yeah, I think in America, they try to make an example of people, especially famous people. Hey, kids, pay your fucking taxes. The IRS does not fuck around.
Yeah.
And they're a shady institution. They go after you.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever had a situation that was like, fuck, I need to get an accountant? Like,
No.
Usually there's some sort of, like from day one, you were pretty dialed.
I've had a business manager for 25 years.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, luckily.
Yeah, I've always wondered how you oversee so much stuff, or if you just have like how you built the team under you to
Yeah,
oversee
you have to have
everything.
people. You have to have real people that really know what the fuck they're doing, that do this for a lot of other, high income people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. They make sure you pay all your fucking taxes and you don't have to think about it. And you don't, that is the last place you want to be, is in the hole to the government. That's when you're in the hole of the IRS, they start auditing you and find out you've been lying about this, or maybe you've been deducting things you can't deduct. Like they start going up your ass with a microscope. It's not good. And if they find out that you did willfully not pay taxes like Snipes, they fucking put you in jail, man. And they do it to make an example out of you. Because if you're a famous person like Lauryn Hill or someone like that, how long did she go away for? I think she did a year.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. They'll take fucking superstars. And I don't know what her deal was. If it was a similar situation where someone had told her she doesn't have to pay taxes. Because, you would think that people that are making millions of dollars, well, you have to have some sophisticated people around you. But that's not the case.
No.
It's like,
Often not.
here it is. Federal judges sentenced Lauryn Hill to 3 months in prison and 3 more in house arrest for failing to pay taxes on close to $1 million in earnings.
Damn.
Which is crazy because she could have easily made that $1 million back for the government.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, go to jail.
Jesus.
Go to jail.
So how do you vet? Because obviously you have some of the financial advising people that will tell you weird tax strategies and things that are sketchy. Like, how do you vet that dude 25 years ago who has been great?
I got very fortunate. He's very conservative. He doesn't fuck around at all. He's like, you don't want that smoke. You want to pay your fucking taxes. He does everything by the book, and they're really good and they've been around forever. It's like, that's what you need. It's like, you would think athletes at the highest level of the game wouldn't be involved in shady gym bros that might be handing them stuff that's getting popped for USADA. But yet it happens all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird guys that wind up being sycophants and hang out in camp that could tell you, this stuff, they're using it in Holland and no one can test for it in America. And you're like, oh, no one can test for it. The next thing you're taking it.
Did you hear anything about this that just was going on right in the background of stuff that's very important in life?
I did hear about it, but I didn't hear the details. So it says Glenn Big Baby Davis convicted in NBA insurance fraud scheme. And what was the scheme?
My understanding, without getting too into details, is that once these players not graduate, but when they retire, they're still afforded some sort of
Pension?
It's part of the pension, I guess. And based off of how they go and file things, they get payments for certain levels of whatever it is, doctors, dentists, whatever it is. So fraudulent invoices were created over X amount of years, and they were just taking the money, I guess. And then they I guess a few players got wrapped up into it. But I remember reading about it. It was just like $1,000 here, $1,500 here, $2,000 here.
And it just adds up.
Yeah. But these are guys that, NBA champions, made millions of dollars.
The thing is, you make those millions of dollars and then your career's over. And you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And you got this lifestyle and you got a house and a big mortgage and a Rolls Royce or something. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, I can just. How many pro athletes do you know that have, been crushing it, and then got way in over their head with lifestyle.
A lot. I know a lot of fighters like that. And with fighters, it's also you're compounding the issue of traumatic brain injury, because one of the things that happens with people that have been hit in the head a bunch is they become very impulsive. They make risky decisions. They gamble a lot. They're real. Something gets knocked loose. That's a real thing. It happens with football players. It happens with a lot of fighters. And those people, they lose their impulse control. It's part of getting hit in the head a lot. It makes you a little bit more reckless, which is really wild.
Damn.
Yeah.
So if anyone needs that high-level advisement, it's those guys.
But they would also need someone that they would be willing to listen to, right? Because a lot of these people are also very headstrong, strong egos. They've been doing it their own way. They become champions that way, and to like adjust that shift in the way you think and say, oh, I'm kind of a fuck up. I'm a little wild with my money. I need someone to invest my money. And then find someone who's willing to do it when your career is already at this point where, hey, in 3 years from now, you're going to be making zero money. Like if you're a 36-year-old fighter, for example, and you're competing in the UFC, the odds of you competing in the UFC in 3 years are so low. There's only a few guys. There's guys like Jan Blachowicz, who's a world champion in his 40s. Glover Teixeira, world champion in his 40s. Like most fighters, by the time 40 rolls around, like Daniel Cormier is another example, rare, very rare to be elite at that age. Most of those guys are done. And when I see a fighter and I see like a guy who's like on the way up 28 and he's fighting a guy who is established at 36, I'm like, ooh, this might be the one, because this might be the time when the wheels fall off.
Right.
Because all those years of punishment on the body, you never know what's going on with injuries. Like it could be a neck, a back, a hip, a knee, something that fucks with them. It's not enabling them to train properly. They can't make specific movements when they want to because it's painful. So even though they look good and they're fighting, they might be compromised, like pretty significantly.
Yeah.
There's guys that fight and they have fucking bulging discs in their neck that are giving them like nerve pains in their hands. And if they get caught in a guillotine, they're fucked.
Yeah, didn't you? You said recently Usman, his knees are just
Destroyed.
absolutely decimated.
Destroyed.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it yesterday with Daniel. If you see the difference between Usman's upper body, he looks like a Greek god.
Yeah.
And then you get down to his lower body, there's almost no muscle tone. They're thin legs. They're tiny legs. And a lot of that is because he can't do anything with them. His knees are bone on bone. His cartilage is worn out. He has almost no meniscus. They're just he has to walk backwards downstairs.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, and he's a world champion.
Has he tried? I'm assuming he's done like pretty much everything. You probably sent him down.
Yeah, he's gone to Colombia, got stem cells. But the problem is, and it's a big problem with these athletes, is that if you do get, like my friend Shane Dorian, do you know who he is?
Yeah.
Big wave surfer. Shane just went down to Tijuana to the CPI, which is a great place to get stem cells in Mexico. He went down there and they told him, once you have this procedure, so he got a bunch of injections directly into the discs of his back to mitigate disc degeneration disease, which is just essentially like compression of your body, smashing down the discs. They told him, you're not doing anything for 8 weeks. Nothing. So for a guy like him, it's like super fit and very active. Is like, what can I do? You can walk. Like you have to give these cells time to actually do their work. And if you're constantly putting stress on those joints after they've had stem cells, you're just completely aggravating all these pre-existing injuries and conditions. And stem cells are never going to get a chance to do their job. Like you've got to give this tissue a chance to reproliferate. You've got to give your body a chance to heal. And they have to go to work. And if you're constantly beating your body up during that process, it's not going to work.
You recently had it done, and you're taking how much? You have to do the same thing, 8 weeks off? Or?
Yeah, you have to. If you're doing something like that, you have like a pretty significant injury. Like I would imagine, this is the longest I've heard anybody be asked to take off, and that's I think because they're going into his discs. But I had a torn MCL on my left knee. And I got stem cells in it, and then like a few weeks later, I was training hard again, like kicking the bag and doing Muay Thai and kicking pads, and it just kept flaring up. It just would, and then I said, okay, I see what the fuck is going on here, and I know how hard-headed I am. I got to take a year off of Muay Thai. And I took a whole year. 1 year, I didn't kick at all. And all I did is those knees over toes guys things and stem cells, and now it's great. But
nice.
I had to give it that time. I was just always re-aggravating the same injury. It would get a little bit better to the point where it didn't hurt anymore. And then when you're throwing kicks, the amount of torque that is on those joints, when you're going full power, you're taking the mass of your body, which in my case is 200 pounds, you're exploding off the ground, and then you're slamming your shin into this hard pad over and over and over and over again. It's just brutal punishment on your joints if you've got some sort of a compromise, if something's wrong there.
What was the recent treatment you had done? Like, what was it for?
I had it done just a couple days ago because I have, I think what is overuse, I think it's probably like some sort of tendinitis in my lower back, and it's from archery. It's from, when you're pulling a bow back, I have two bows. One is 80 pounds to pull back, and one is 90. And so I'm pulling 80 or 90 pounds 150 times a day.
Damn.
Over and over and over again. So it's this motion where my right arm pulls back and I'm anchoring in and then I'm locking it down. And a lot of that stability and locking it down and like maintaining your posture is in my right lower back. Like that's where like everything sort of like balances out. That's like the fulcrum or the point where all the stress of my upper back and my legs meet, and that's what kind of keeps it stable. And that was getting overused to the point where I would draw my bow back, and I could do it a few times, and then like on the 10th time, the 11th time, it would start to flare up, and it was becoming an issue. So I got some stem cell shot into that.
So do you have to take how much time off of the bow now?
I have to take some time off. I'll take a couple weeks off.
Okay.
Yeah. But I have an easy bow too. I have one bow that I keep at the studio that's only 60 pounds, and so that one doesn't seem to bother me. So I could do that. It's just like as soon as something bothers me, I stop. And then I'm doing the ice bass, and I'm rolling it out. And I'm shooting BPC 157 in there, and it's better. It's already pretty significantly better.
Nice. Yeah. That's is that so? Part of your daily routine is like 150 shots.
No,
Like you said, every day
no,
I'm doing 100 to 150.
Oh, shots with the arrow.
Yeah.
Yes. I thought you
No,
meant like
not
DPC
injection.
157. That would be insane.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, every day is like 100, at least 100 shots.
So that's just here, or where do you?
I have a range here at the studio. That's an indoor range, and then I have at my house. I have an outdoor range.
You got to show me around after. I don't think I've ever even
Oh
seen
yeah.
the.
Have you seen the gym?
No.
Oh yeah, we got a great gym. It's like a
Okay.
real gym.
Yeah.
Like that you would like pay a membership for.
Is it
It's pretty dope.
public or?
No.
I'm assuming.
Comedians and my security staff are the only ones that
Okay.
use it. And so it's like, I've been doing these comedian workouts where I take these guys that, they've been talking about it for a while. They don't work out at all. And I'm like, look, come down. We'll have a fun time. We'll laugh around a bit, and I'll start you off real light. I start them out with just body weight exercises like we're going to do. I do like a series of 100 push-ups and 100 body weight squats every day. And it's what I do is that's how I warm up from my cold plunge. So I start the cold plunge. That's the first thing I do. And then once I'm done with 100 body weight squats and 100 push-ups, then I can start working out because I'm pretty warm by then. And then I'll start doing my other stuff. And so what I would do with these guys is I would start them out with the body weight squats and the push-ups, and I'm like, you don't have to do sets of 20. I'm like, if you could do 5, if you could do 10, do 5, because we're going to do 5 sets. And so you'll wind up doing 25 push-ups, and you wind up doing 25 body weight squats, which is not a lot, but I'm just trying to build them on a base. And then I had them doing very light kettlebells, like 10 kilograms, and you're doing swings, and I'm teaching them how to rack and cleans and presses, and then I worked them into windmills. And then once I got them going for a little, and then one day The Rock came, so we had a serious workout. And I'm like, just everybody try to keep up, but we're gonna get after it today. We
Who
did like
chooses
2 hours.
what?
Me.
Okay.
Me.
So The Rock does your.
Yeah, he did my
routine.
workout.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
which is cool to see him do because I think what he mostly does is stuff that generates size. I think he does a lot of machines.
Yeah, he seems like very bodybuilding focused
Yes.
and longevity for his joints and whatnot because he's in his 50s now.
And he did football,
Yeah.
pro wrestling for years. I mean, it beats your fucking body. Yeah. Out of all those guys that are retired pro wrestlers, he is unquestionably in the best condition. Like, he's not like Hulk Hogan comes in. He's got a crutch,
Oh, yeah.
and he's fucked up. He's got to walk with a cane. His back. He's had like 7. I think he lost 4 or 5 inches of height
Damn.
due to back surgeries.
Damn.
Because they're just fusing all his. You got to think you got a little space in between each spinal column, and then that goes away, that goes away, that goes away. So everything is compressed, and then that creates all sorts of problems in your body because everything's kind of out of a line now, and then your back is one stiff rod because everything's fused. It's fucked. But The Rock's avoided all that. Like, he's in pretty good. He's not that mobile. Like, we had him doing like windmills. You know what a windmill is? You clean press with a kettlebell, and then you go down like this with your hand all the way down to the ground, and then
Okay.
all the way back up.
Yeah.
That was a struggle for him.
Oh, I mean, he's pretty tall, too. I
Yeah,
can imagine.
he's a huge dude.
Yeah.
But he's doing mostly like bench press, squats. He's doing things with machines, leg curls, leg extensions. I think he does a lot of machine stuff, which is probably the safest way to do that shit.
Does he usually train on his own with no
Yeah.
workout partner?
Yeah, he does.
Seems
yeah.
like every video he's like in a gym that's like been propped up somewhere, and it's still like all the equipment is there, but there's no one there, and
Yeah.
it's like a mobile facility, I guess.
Yeah, that's what he does. I mean, he has that, and then he has this enormous place at his house. Yeah, so it's all machines. I mean, he does have some dumbbells, but the vast majority of what he's utilizing is, machines, which, you really can get strong and you really can get big with those.
Yeah.
But what those things don't seem to do is allow for coordination through use of movement that would give you functional strength.
Yeah. A lot of it is you become very limited in your ability to do actual athletic maneuvers
Yes.
too. Like even when I first started bodybuilding, I was teaching swimming lessons and was a lifeguard, and I had to teach the kids certain different kinds of strokes and whatnot, and my backstroke in particular, the mobility of my shoulder and actually being able to get it past my ear even. It was like I was like smashing my head with my delt. And I couldn't even like keep a straight arm because I was so inflexible. And it was that was the first time I noticed, damn, this is really limiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you become athletic looking and like you could do things at a high level because you look good objectively, but the actual athletic performance capacity is dramatically hindered if you don't focus on that stuff.
Well, certainly with bodybuilding, right? I
Yeah.
mean, if you see those guys that are competing in the Mr. Olympia, I can't imagine that there's much that they can do.
Yeah, like that Tom Haviland guy.
Oh, yeah, that
he's
guy.
a great example of jacked as fuck, huge, and does a lot of like functional type stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is his deal?
Yeah, he's an interesting character for sure.
Yeah.
I think he's former special forces. He's I think he used to compete in certain strength events, powerlifting potentially. There is some videos on YouTube from a long time ago, and his face is actually showing, which a lot of people don't know about. But he's like 6'8", 350 right now, I think.
Yeah, he's trying to get to 400 pounds. That was his thing.
Yeah, I think he did before. I don't know if he's still trying to get to 400, but yeah, the guy is a fucking freak show for sure.
A real freak show.
Yeah, and he's like, it's his equipment. It's like you don't even know where it came from. It's like, is this a fucking piece
Yeah.
of like railroad equipment or
I
something?
know a lot of it is like shit he built. And what's really crazy is most of the stuff he's wearing work boots
Yeah.
and like a fucking lumberjack shirt or some shit. Like, look at this. Like, how odd is it that he wears all these clothes while he trains? And
Yeah, like there's definitely I wouldn't want to work out in jeans personally.
Right.
Like, that would be the last thing I'd want to wear.
like, why is he doing that? Like,
I don't know.
What is the mentality about?
Like I guess it's got to be you just like the way it looks, man, I guess.
It must
Because
be.
it's certainly not for function or comfort or anything.
Right, like, why is he wearing work boots? Why is he wearing jeans? Why does he never show his face?
It's like the ultimate blue collar,
This one's wild. He carries a log while he's got offset weight, so the chain is wrapped around his right arm, and then he's dragging 100 pounds behind him.
When Goggins ask who's going to carry the boats and logs, I show them this guy.
I mean, what a strange thing to do. But he also is a big advocate of carrying things. Like one of the things he said, if you want to get strong, take something heavy and carry it around.
Yeah, and it's like stuff that actually would translate into, real life.
Yeah, look at this shit.
Like, this guy will carry your groceries, bro.
I mean, this is insane. This farmer's carry. He's like, how much weight is that? 410 pounds,
Jesus
farmer's carry.
Christ.
Yeah. What's that, Jamie? Each hand 410?
It says farmers walk with 800.
Oh.
410 in each hand
my
for 12 meters.
God.
Yeah,
Now
it's
look at that.
wild.
Look at those. Those are not weights. Those are like gears. Like, what are those things that he's got on the sides?
Yeah, and
He's
it's
got like one plate, and then the other thing looks like a gear. So everything he does is like these really awkward movements, but then he supplements that with traditional stuff like Zercher squats, deadlifts.
Yeah, I don't know why he's. I think his Instagram's private now too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Burned or intake?
Intake,
Today's calories 6,389. Jeez Louise.
which is like for his size. Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
I can believe it.
100%. He's fucking 6'9" or whatever he is.
Yeah, I don't understand his branding though around the whole "don't show my face" private Instagram.
I don't know what it is.
Because obviously the posts are to document progress and or inspire people or bring attention to programs or something. But then it's like, I don't know, maybe he got a lot of harassment or
So
something.
now
I
you
don't
get
know.
to see him without a shirt on.
Oh, there we go.
Fucking guy's a house. Gee, look at the size of that motherfucker.
I think that's why he wears all those clothes. That's very distracting from what he's doing. If he's just trying to show you how strong he is, you're just like, look how.
Like, look at this. He's doing an axle with 2 wheels on it.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Imagine just driving by and seeing this guy.
Just walking around in the fucking field,
Yeah.
carrying logs and shit. Yeah, look at it. He's got 2 wheels on each side. He's doing these shrugs. Very strange stuff.
Yeah.
Now he's pulling things with his neck. I mean, he literally looks like a superhero.
Yeah.
What is his Jailhouse Strong? Does he have programs that you can buy?
I think so.
Because he's got a website. Because that's one of the things that he ever.
It's his book series.
What is it? Go to it.
I'm trying to do everything at once. Hold on.
No worries.
No frills training, gas station ready, Amazon selling book series, Jailhouse Strong, Instagram.
Is Jailhouse Strong a website? You go to
It didn't
jailhousestrong.com.
seem like that. It's just like a Facebook profile.
Go to jailhousestrong.com. See if there's a website.
Apparel.
Okay. So Jailhouse Strong is just his apparel. It's all him. It's all his giant back.
I guess
Okay.
so, yeah.
Hey, he's definitely not overly promotional though. Like,
No.
you almost wouldn't
Yeah, it
even
just has
know
his
that
Instagram.
he has anything.
Yeah, that's what's really strange about it. It's like, what is he doing?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man.
He's getting people to talk about it.
For sure. Maybe
mean-
that's part of the mystique.
Brian Callen sent it to me first. He goes, "You need to see this freak."
Yeah.
And he goes, "You heard of Tom Haviland?" I go, "No." And he just reads me all the details of like how big this guy is and all of his videos of him from behind lifting insane amounts of weight.
Oh, jeez. I feel like every year I'm going to be asking the same question: is Brian Callen on TRT yet?
Not yet.
Oh my
no,
God!
I don't get
What's
it.
he
He's
waiting
falling
for?
apart. He's waiting to die.
Literally.
I don't understand it.
Yeah.
He claims his testosterone's fine.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay. I don't know who he's going to. He's like certain friends listen and certain friends are stubborn and they just don't listen. And
Yeah.
you're like, okay, do it. Do whatever you want to do. With all these comedian guys, I was telling them forever, as long as they would listen. I'm like, if you have more energy, you'll be able to do more things in your life. Like, forget about what you look like, but you will most certainly look better if you lift weights and work out and eat well. But maybe more importantly, you'll have more energy for everything you do in life, including go on stage. Like, I'm 56 years old. I still do 2 shows a night, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That's 6 hours of comedy in 3 days. And I don't get that tired. I'm fine because I'm fit. I
Yeah.
eat well. I'm healthy. I'm like, I have energy. Like, you don't have energy. Like, you guys get tired doing one show.
What's your current, I don't know, like supplementation and or like drugs for, staying dialed or mentally sharp? Or is it just perfect diet or?
Well, for supplementation, I've recently had Gary Brecka on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And I started taking all the different methylated vitamins and things that he recommends. I just started doing it. I can't tell. I feel great, but I can't tell if it's been an improvement. I also ordered one of his light beds, which seemed Dana White's face looks like he's 10 years younger. And there's a thing that happened to him that happens to everyone when you lose body fat. I notice when I get on the carnivore diet, like your cheeks get kind of sucked in, and you kind of look like shit because it's like you don't have face fat anymore, which kind of fills your face out more.
Right.
So your face starts getting like kind of sunken in. His face did that at first, and then it plumped up again. And I'm like, what's going on with that? And he's like, it's the red light bed. Like the red light bed increases collagen in your skin, and you use it every day. And he uses it. He's got a routine that Gary Brecka does. What does he call it? The superhuman protocol something. I forget what he calls it.
Is Dana still, like, I'm pretty sure he was on a keto diet when he was dieting down. Is he still on keto?
Yep. He says he's going to be on that forever.
Huh.
He's like, dude, I feel so good. I have so much energy and so much mental clarity. He goes, I'm staying keto forever.
He hasn't added carbs cyclically around workouts or anything?
No.
Because that would definitely be like, he's holding less water in his face, too, when you have no carbs.
Right.
So that would be a big, suck out of there.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened with me for sure. When I got on the carnivore diet, that's one of the things I know. I lost a shitload of body fat. Like, I got really ripped, like, pretty easily. I'm like, this is kind of extraordinary. And also, the thing that's the most beneficial to me is the mental focus and clarity, which I did it once before in like 4 or 5 years ago. I did it for a month and I lost 12 pounds. But I kind of always went off it on it, eat pizza, have pasta, 1 or 2 days a week, I'll fuck off.
Yeah.
But I've been really good at it for the last couple of months. Like I had a slice of pizza last night, and then on Saturday night I had some sushi. The majority of my diet, though, and that's rare. I won't do that again for another month or so. The majority of my diet is all just meat and eggs and game meat and bacon, and it's all just healthy fat. I'll still eat avocados and avocado oil, and I'll occasionally have a piece of fruit, but the vast majority of my diet is just animal-based.
So you don't like, I feel like last time I was here, we were talking about like fruit and adding it in around your workouts and whatnot. Like, is that
sometimes I'll still do that. I'll have like a banana before I work out.
Okay.
But it's not every day. It's like once a week, something like that. Or I'll have like berries and yogurt. But most of my food is animal based. And when I do that, I have a 100% recognition that there's an extra gear that I have mentally. Like when I do when I first started doing it again, I remember I came home once from my club and I was a little drunk, and I was like, oh, I can't drink every night at this fucking club. Like, this is just it's too fun. I'm hanging out with these comedians. We're at the bar. We're all laughing. Anybody want to get a shot? All right, do a shot. And then I get home, I'm like, God damn it, I got to clean my act up. And I'm like, you know what? I really need to go back to that carnivore diet because that's when I felt my best. So I go back to it, and then within 2 weeks, I notice a clear difference in my mental clarity. And this is someone with me who already I take this Alpha Brain Black Label, I take NeuroGum. I'm already taking things that enhance my focus. But this is a difference, like a noticeable difference. And so that's when I decided, okay, this is how I'm going to eat from now on, because this just seems to be, for sure, the way my body optimizes performance. Like, there's no other thing that I do that has that big of an impact.
Yeah, that's when you wake up, is it like your waking energy levels are heightened too, or is it just a stability of those that don't wildly fluctuate throughout the day and they stay constant?
Yeah, it's the stability. I'm always tired when I wake up, but then I get in the cold plunge and I wake right the fuck up. There's nothing. It's like the on switch. When you wake up in the morning and I always, I'll look at my phone. I'll fucking pet the dog. I'm trying to put it off.
Do you still have the mental battles in the morning?
Yeah. I mean, I always win, but they're there every fucking day. Every day when I get up to that cold plunge, I'm like, should I listen to music? Maybe I'll listen to music this time. And then I'll gotta go get my headphones. So then I get my AirPods, and then which song do I listen to? So it's all procrastination.
Yeah.
But then once you get in there, All that shit's bullshit. And then you're just freezing your dick off for 3 minutes. Fuck. And today it was just covered in ice. I'm just pushing the ice aside and climbing in. But when I get out after 3 minutes, it's just this rush of endorphins. You just feel fucking amazing. You feel great. And then my mind's firing, and then I'm in a great mood. I just got to get through it.
Do you still train right after?
Yes.
Okay.
Today I didn't, because today I was up really late last night. Like a bunch of people, like Daniel Cormier came to the club last night, and Gordon Ryan, and my friend Anthony from the UFC, and there was just like a shit. Michael Bisping was there.
Oh, nice.
So we were all at the bar till like 2 o'clock in the morning. We were all just laughing and having fun. So I came home, then I had some food, watched a little YouTube. I didn't get to bed till like 4:30. So I woke up at 11. Just got in the cold plunge, did whatever shit I had to do at the house, and then made it to the studio today. But today's the rare day where I didn't work out right after the cold plunge.
What's like a typical day in the life? Is it like wake up, cold plunge, workout?
Yes.
Then eat something and podcast, or like?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then after that?
Yeah, usually my first meal is at noon.
Okay.
You know, usually my first meal, I'm generally waking up in the morning, saying goodbye to my kids, getting the cold plunge, starting my workout routine, and then my workout routine is always followed by sauna. So cold plunge starts it off. I heat my body back up through bodyweight squats and push-ups, and then depending upon the day, I create my own routines, and I found that that's the best way to do it for me, where I know like what I write it all down on a whiteboard, and then I know like what I have been doing, and I know like, okay, I'm doing pretty well with this weight. Let's ramp this weight up a little bit. Let's change the reps. Let's add in these. Let's add in 1 or 2 extra, kettlebell movements to this routine. And so I'm working out for an hour and a half or so, and then when that's over, I do the sauna for 20 to 25 minutes, and then I eat.
Is that typically here? Like you come here?
Typically here, or when I'm doing these comedian boot camp things, when I'm bringing the comics in. So what I do is I'll tell them, don't try to keep up with me. Just I want you to just do like, can you do a chin-up? Okay, if you can do a chin-up, I want you to do 1 chin-up. If you can do 3 chin-ups, I want you to do 2. Just do 2, stop. I'm going to give you like 5 minutes of rest, and then we're going to do dips. I'm trying to like get them through these routines where they're not like struggling to pick up a fork the next day. So, I started incorporating the torque sled. Do you ever use that?
No.
That thing's fucking fantastic. We have a 40-yard strip of AstroTurf, and then we have this torque sled, and it's a resistance-based. It's a really phenomenal sled because you don't have to put weight on it.
Oh,
you
nice.
just reach down and crank the gears up.
Oh,
and
that's
so
way better.
you could put up a tremendous amount of resistance on it. So it's really hard to push, and then we push it all the way down, and then we pull it all the way back.
Yeah, finding I would like to do sled, but public gyms often it's you're that guy when you're like walking through the fucking middle of the entire walkway.
Right.
So there's only so much you can do with the flexibility on that. But I would like to do it at some point.
Yeah, you kind of almost have to take the sled out into the parking lot or something. Or have a place to do it. I used to do it in my yard. I had one that I would do outside. I would strap this weight thing around my waist, weight belt, and clip the cord to the sled, and then I would stack like 90 pounds on the sled, and then just do a lot of it is doing it backwards. So I'd pull it backwards, which is really good for your knees. That's like what Ben Patrick, the knees over toes guy, what he recommends. So I would do that a lot. But then I got the torque sled. It's just so much better.
Yeah,
that's the torque sled. That thing's the shit because you can change the gearing. And so like for a lighter person, you can make it a little bit easier. And then if you really want to go hard, you could crank that bitch way the fuck up, and it's fucking hard to do.
Nice. Yeah, I might start doing reverse. It's like reverse treadmill walking.
That's my favorite. This way. Yeah, reverse treadmill walking is great too.
Apparently, it's like maybe it's not as good as this, obviously, but it's like I've had patellar tendonitis for years, and I've kind of just like left it essentially. And the knees over toes stuff, that's kind of like the next best alternative to sled work, it seems like.
Yeah.
So I should
Yeah, the knees over toe stuff is great. I do, like with my bodyweight squats, I do them on a slant board.
Oh, nice.
So my knee's going way down, and I'm going all the way, ass to heels, and all the way back up. And it's made a giant difference in my ability, because when I go elk hunting, my ability to move around through the woods, my legs have gotten way bigger just from doing that every day. But also, I add goblet squats with kettlebells. I'm doing lunges. I'm adding a bunch of other things to it, but the consistent one every day is the bodyweight squats. Not a day goes by where I'm not doing 100 bodyweight squats and 100 push-ups, because it's pretty easy to do. It takes 10 minutes. You could just do it. Just force yourself to do it.
Who do you think's the most improved comedian body composition-wise?
Zero of them. No
Zero?
one is. They still eat terrible, but they feel better, which is the most important thing. So I've got them feeling better. Now, in January...
Don't you usually do like a November or October competition with certain...
October. Yeah, Sober October. But that's with Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura and Ari Shafir.
Okay.
But what I'm doing with these guys is, in January, we're going to do a carnivore diet only. So January is apparently World Carnivore Month. That's when I first started trying. I'm like, okay, it's a thing where, like, if you know that other people are doing it and you're being held accountable and you declare that you're going to do it, hop on and try it. So I'm going to tell these guys, for the whole month of January, I want you to eat nothing but meat and eggs. Just nothing but meat, eggs, fish, fat. Get all your healthy fats, meats, and eggs, and you can have some avocados. I want you to eat bacon, but I want you to just completely cut out all sugar, all bread, all pasta, all rice, all bullshit. And let's see how you feel at the end of the month. But you got to commit to it, and so they're all on board for that. That is where they're going to see radical body change. Oh, nice. Because they're gonna reduce their body fat. Your satiety level from just eating meat is so different. It's crazy. People that have a problem overeating, like I have a problem overeating. Like if I have a pizza in front of me, I will eat that fucking whole pizza. If I have a bowl of ice cream or a carton of ice cream, I'll eat the whole carton.
It's something I've noticed is portion control of like men versus women. I don't know what it is, but like dudes, it's whatever's in front of me, I will decimate the whole thing. But for girls, it's like, oh, I'll have a little piece of this, a little piece of that. I can't have it in the house. You wonder if
they're doing that around us and how they are, because it's not bad for a guy to overeat in front of a woman.
Ah, right.
Like if a guy sits down with a 22-ounce cowboy ribeye and a side of mashed potatoes, like no woman is going to go, what are you doing?
Yep.
They
so you think they secretly want to decimate it too?
I think so. I think especially when it comes to like carbs and pasta, I think it's just human.
What do you do for because this is interesting, because Peter Attia, for example, is known as like one of the foremost longevity experts. He's seen as, the go-to guy for a lot of I don't know, people seek education from his content and whatnot.
Yeah.
But even him with his dialed in practices and whatnot, if the stuff is in his house, he will still go off the rails. So last time I talked to him, he was mentioning how him and his wife were having an argument about keeping drumsticks in the freezer for their kids, because when it's there, he just slams 3 of them, and it like pisses him off. So now he has this deal where he just takes his kids to ice cream whenever they want ice cream, rather than having it physically in the house.
Yeah.
Obviously you have kids. How do you handle that?
Well, believe it or not, my kids eat really well. Especially my youngest daughter has really gotten into fitness, and it's kind of this strange shift where she gets up in the morning and hits the gym before she goes to school, and she'll run 10 miles.
Wow.
It's nuts, dude.
It's been watching Goggins shit.
I don't know what it is, man, but something switched in her. It's been pretty recently, like over the last 5 months. She's super consistent. It's very strange. Like, I'll get up if I have to get up early, and it's like 6:30 in the morning, and she's in the fucking gym.
That's definitely
She's in the gym,
helps.
riding the treadmill.
Probably helps you as well for like.
Well, it's inspiring.
Yeah,
and I'm proud of her. It's because no one's telling her to do this.
Yeah,
and then she you know what happened? She got a Fitbit. She said, "I want to get a Fitbit," and so we got her a Fitbit, and then she's like, what's a step goal that most people have? And so she's been getting like 28,000 steps in a day.
Holy shit.
Dude, she's a maniac.
That's crazy.
It's nuts. And her body's changing. Like
The
she
only
looks-
time I get that is if I'm in Europe on a vacation or some
Right.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
crazy.
it's pretty amazing. Well, she does sports. You know, she does volleyball and basketball and soccer. She does a lot of different sports.
Okay.
But she's noticing also that it's an improvement in her sports. Like she's not getting tired. When the other girls are getting tired, she's like, "Let's fucking go." You know, it's like it's kind of interesting. But it's also it's so weird how your kids will just like something will snap into them and then they'll be really into this thing and then that becomes the new part of their life.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest reasons for using those trackers and whatnot, like gamifying it, is I think for some people kind of the thing they need to make it interesting enough to follow and want to beat personal records and whatnot.
Yes.
So it's kind of interesting because I don't know, you're obviously familiar with Brian Johnson. We talked about him before. Not Brian Johnson, Liver King, Brian Johnson, the
biohacker.
billionaire vegan longevity dude. He has like this age tracker that tracks his chronological versus his biological age. And he has like this leaderboard where people are also competing against each other for rate of aging. And this leaderboard is constantly shifting with all these people who are getting on board trying to optimize whatever biomarkers they can and, you know, their exercise regimens, supplementation, diet, etc. And the biological clocks are kind of not founded in science necessarily, but
Is it measuring telomeres? Like, what are they measuring?
It's like methylation. So it's as much as you could point to the results of it, and it would show an outcome that reflects a rate of aging that is potentially slower than what your normal chronological aging would be, which is, you know, like 1 year equals 1 year. You could be 0.6 per year if you were doing everything amazingly potentially. But still, that is highly manipulatable via like very, very acute changes. So if you do something, for example, if you're super healthy for even one or a few days, you could change the result of that plus minus like 10 years. So often, like I think there was one study where the same guys tried multiple different tests and each test had a different result based on just what they were doing at the time. So it was like, obviously if it was a legit tracker, your age biologically would not shift 10 years every day. It would make no sense.
Right.
So anyway, this leaderboard though, although the science is kind of, you know, not necessarily founded, it's cool to see the gamification of it where people are at least trending with things that are improving their state of like quality of life, performance, etc. So as much as like the whole, like the problem with it obviously is when people start to monetize the age clocks and start to sell you supplements and shit around it to try and help your biological age drop faster or whatever. But overall, people are tracking this stuff and getting meticulous about trying to beat each other. They're competing to get as healthy as possible, doing all the right things. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. And he's
Interesting.
constantly talking about how he's like, you know, top ranked and fill in the blank metric.
Isn't he on a vegan diet as well?
Yeah, which is it's really interesting because like some of the stuff he does I think is great. Like he's putting out good information, but then sometimes it's like I think his total calorie intake is like 2,250. His protein is like barely 100 grams, which for your body weight is not that great. And then obviously the value of the protein from the vegan diet is questionable depending where you're getting it. And then on top of that, he's using testosterone to maintain his hormones as they're suppressed via the diet model he's on. So he has all these metrics that he touts as, you know, check out my improvements in these biomarkers, and you'll say I'm top 0.01% in grip strength for my age, or top 1% in, you know, liver markers or what have you. But then you'll be like, I'm top 1% in testosterone, and it's like,
Yeah, you put it in there.
yeah, like no shit, buddy. So
You could be higher than that if you want.
yeah, you could manually change it tomorrow. You
Yeah.
could be top 0.01%. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, overall the stuff he's doing is it's interesting, and people overall like the gamification of it I think is good to keep people, I don't know, make it more interesting and want to actually improve.
I wonder what led him to try the vegan diet. Because if he's so meticulous about monitoring his nutrition, his supplement intake, he's got to know that the most nutrient-dense form of food is meat.
Yeah, but he has like 7,000 supplements, so you can just make up for it.
Can you though?
I don't know, dude. It's I
I
wouldn't.
guess you kind of could.
I was definitely.
What he
partially
eats
kidding.
daily: nutty pudding, extra virgin olive oil.
So, like, my understanding is based on whoever he has on his team interpreting nutrition literature and drug literature as well will dictate his choices of what he's doing. And I think he also has like an ethical stance on meat consumption to some extent.
Oh, okay.
But
That makes sense.
He also claims that every calorie he eats has intent behind it to where it's deriving like the highest value from a longevity perspective, which is questionable, obviously, when you're looking at like what the fuck are some of these meals, right?
Yeah.
It's just his dinner at 11 a.m.
Yeah, man.
What? So what time does he get up?
to 1 a.m. What the fuck?
So maybe he has one of those restricted calorie eating days.
He intermittent fasts for a
Yeah.
big chunk of the day, and then he
Yeah.
compresses it and makes sure it's far enough away from going to sleep to not mess with his sleep quality. And then he has apparently like one of the best whoop sleep scores on Earth, supposedly, is what he claims. Which, you know, I wouldn't doubt is legit, but I mean, like that's an example too of gamification, which is cool in my opinion, is when you can track trends in, oh, last night my heart rate elevated by X amount, which is abnormal. Why did it happen? Oh, maybe it was that I ate, you know, this snack that's shitty for me 5 minutes before I went to sleep, and then my body temperature elevated. It was harder to get to sleep, and my heart rate's trying to, you know, I'm metabolizing food while I'm literally trying to sleep at the same time. Like there's stuff you can see in the feedback, which is cool because you wouldn't dig into it yourself otherwise necessarily. So when you have it in this nice laid out, like visually friendly format too, and it's giving you notifications, hey, tonight you should probably, you know, stop eating 2 hours before sleep, or what happened yesterday, your HRV is lower, and perhaps focus more on recovery. Like that kind of stuff I think is cool. So
It is cool, and that is one of the aspects of these fitness trackers that some people have said can be an issue because they have the same sort of addictive qualities that video games do because you're chasing numbers. You're chasing steps per day, calories burned.
it could go off the rails for sure for some people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, I know a lot of people who would never get 10,000 steps if it wasn't on a tracker of some sort.
Yeah. The trackers are we used to use when we did the Sober October Fitness Challenge, we used the My Zones tracker.
Okay.
Have you seen that one?
No.
You're wearing a chest strap, and it gives you points based on how much energy you exert and how much time you spent at like 80% max heart rate. So what we realized when we started doing this challenge, like the challenge was for someone to get the highest score by the end of the month. What we realized is like burning it out in the red, you can't go as far. So you can't do as many calories in a day, and you can't get as many points in a day. It's just too hard. Your body breaks down. But you can stay in the yellow for a pretty long time. And the yellow is like 140 beats per minute. And so it ramped up where we were getting a certain score like 200 a day, 300 a day. And then one day, Ari realized you could watch movies on an iPad while you're on a treadmill, and you just keep going.
Isn't it weird how sometimes common sense stuff totally escapes you, and then all of a sudden you realize one day I could have been fucking listening to music when I'm in the cold plunge or something?
Yeah. And well, instead of just straight suffering through the cardio, you're getting engaged with this film. And it just becomes normal.
Yeah.
So you're just breathing heavy while you're watching, Apocalypse Now or something. It's like got you riveted. And so Ari racked up a big score one day, like 400 points. We're like, what the fuck did you do? He's like, sorry, boys, game changer. I realized you could watch movies while you're on cardio. And then we started going really crazy. And one day I did 7 hours of cardio because I wanted to break the guys because Bert Kreischer was talking shit. Yeah. So I did 7 hours of cardio and I ramped up an 1,100 score for the day. I set off the fire alarm in my gym from sweating.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, I got a video of it. There's puddles of sweat on the ground where it looked like I threw water everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly drinking water and electrolytes, like constantly, and sugar. I was drinking like cans of Coca-Cola, root beer. I just needed some form of like quick, easy calories while I was doing it. Here, give me some volume on this. From my workout, then I set off the fucking fire alarm.
Oh my god. Holy shit.
Jesus Christ. Look at that puddle, boys. Yeah, that was when I was watching John Wick like 50 times in a row. But yeah, like that was, I mean, that was October in California, so it's like it wasn't that hot out. It was like normal temperature out, and I'd made that room so hot from my body weight that the steam from my body set off the fire alarm.
Have you ever got a walking like a standing desk before?
No.
So one of the most wild things I've seen, and maybe this is more common than I know, but Ben Greenfield, the like longevity biohacking dude, you've had him on a couple times, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. He essentially every time he's doing a podcast, he's walking on like a treadmill with his desk in front of him or walking outside. So the guy is literally never not in motion, essentially. Like he is, I don't know how many steps he gets in a day, but a lot of people maybe in that space, like the biohacking niche, are literally like raising their desks, shoving a treadmill underneath it, and then like making sure they're getting steps while doing emails or while podcasting, which is pretty wild.
I think that makes sense. I mean, if you could just walk around and do podcasting, you could do that. But for me, my desk at home in particular is for writing. And
I couldn't imagine writing standing personally.
I need no distractions when I'm writing. I need a blank. Like I use focus mode on Microsoft Word, where you don't see anything. No notifications pop up. You don't see your tray. You don't see anything. I just see the text on the screen. That's it. That's the only way I can do it. And then I have to really like lock in for hours just doing that. If I was walking, it would just be another thing that my body would be occupied in that would take away the resources from thinking.
Did you ever get a burner phone that has no apps and stuff? I think you were talking about
I
that before.
I have a phone that has no apps. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has it made a big difference?
It makes a difference. But my friends still send me these fucking Instagram links, and I
to
still
that number?
wonder. I have 2 numbers now.
Okay.
And the old one still has Instagram on it and all that jazz, but it significantly cuts down on my use of it. Significantly.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, see, this is what I found out. If you have 2 phones, and one phone, if you have an iPhone, and one phone, the iMessage is hooked up to your number, and the other one, the iMessage is hooked up to your email account, you still get all the text messages from the old number because they're going to the iMessage email account. So that's how this phone is set up. So you really can't call me.
Okay.
But you can send me text messages, and the text message will go there. But I also found that if someone calls me on the other one and I have this phone hanged up to the email account, the phone with the email account will ring. They're not even calling the same number.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
I didn't know that. Did you know that, Jamie?
It's a setting.
It's a setting.
Setting you got to turn it off or on.
Yeah.
I suppose,
So I toggle it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll switch it back just to the phone number, and then nothing comes through.
You know, it's a good hack. I saw Alex Hormozy, if you guys know him.
Yeah.
He's like a business entrepreneur, content creator.
Super jacked.
Yeah, super fucking jacked. And he has this hack that he mentioned where you basically go into your color filter settings and you set it to grayscale. And just like that, Instagram is like 50% less enticing to fuck around on.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
So next time you're on the toilet, you pull out your phone. It's like, oh shit, it's black and white. I don't care about this.
Yeah. It's a time suck, boy. And I always trick myself into thinking that I'm going to get something out of it for material. There's got to be something that I connect with here that's going to be like, what? And I'll get one of those every 10 days, 15 days.
Yeah.
But those other days is just nonsense.
Yeah.
It's just looking at muscle cars and fucking nonsense.
Yeah, the I don't know if it's the algorithms are changing or what, but the Explore feeds are kind of fucked up now. For
Mine are all murder.
dude, yeah, that's my Twitter at least is basically that. Yeah,
Yeah, Twitter's wild under Elon. Did you
Yeah.
see that interview he did with the New York Times the other day?
Oh yeah, he like told him to fuck
Go
himself.
fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Because let me be clear. Go fuck yourself.
Dude,
you don't want
how-
to advertise on my platform? Go fuck yourself.
How much has he changed since you first met him to now? Because at least based on podcast behavior, he seems wildly different and more loose and bro-ish.
He's having fun.
Yeah.
he's a fun guy to be around.
Yeah.
Like, and he was here, last time he was here, he brought his son, and, you know, he's hanging out with his kid. He's like a fun guy. He's not like, people have this idea he's this like fucking serious, driven businessman, which he most certainly also is. Mm-hmm. But he manages it all really well. Like, he's always laughing.
Was he
he's
like
having a
that
good time.
off camera the first time you met him too? Or did it kind of was like a warm-up period?
Well, I think there's a warm-up period. He has to get to know you and know he can trust you. I mean, when you're the richest guy in the world, there's probably a lot of people cutting angles on you, and it probably gets really odd. But what I did notice is that the first time we did the podcast, when I first met him, he was super loose and relaxed. Like, he has his fucking. He brought me a blowtorch that not a what is it? Not a flamethrower.
Boring kind of, or what is it? Yeah, I forget what the company name is.
So there's famous photos of him in my studio firing off this fucking flamethrower with 17 feet of fire coming off the end of this in the middle of our lobby. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? He's just wild. But I guess when you have that much money, you really have zero concerns. Like, you could just be, if you're that guy, you could just be kind of a silly guy. Yeah. And he's just fun. He just likes to have a good time. And on the podcast, though, it took a while to loosen him up. I think there's also there's a thing that happens to people when they come on podcasts, at least this one, where the scale of it hits them.
Yeah, it's like the UFC championship of podcasting, essentially.
Yeah, it's like just the numbers of people that will be paying attention.
Yeah.
You know, but once we started drinking, we had a couple of glasses of whiskey, and then things got loose, and then we were having a good time, you know?
Yeah, one thing that's really good about this, I'm sure you've heard this a million times, but how chill the setup is with you guys. It's like, I've been on podcasts where it's like, I feel like I'm on a, I don't know, like the news or something, or it's some like big production. And it's pretty intimidating when you have 7 camera crew guys running around you every 2 seconds, and there's, 7 different camera angles that you're thinking about, and don't shift this way too much. Oh, don't do that. And and here it's I think a lot of people would be surprised how like chill and laid back the whole setup is.
It's by design.
Yeah, like it's definitely the most conducive to a real conversation, I feel like.
Yeah, you don't want a bunch of people in the room with you. Like, I've done people's shows where they have people in the room. I go, do you understand that these people are distracting?
Yeah, and it's like
it's going to take away from the conversation.
I think a lot of people, and I'm not a pro podcaster by any means, but I think they're of the opinion that higher production value consistently, no matter how high it gets, equals better without thinking about the detriment it has to the actual conversation. It becomes very manufactured.
Yeah. Well, I think particularly with this kind of podcast, you have to be aware of what are you making. Well, what you're making is a conversation that you want to be as easy to listen to as possible. Mm-hmm. So you want the person who's the guest to be as comfortable as possible. You want to give them as much space. You don't want to interrupt. You want them to feel good. You want everybody to be having fun and be friendly and have them be the most relaxed so you can have an enjoyable conversation that you would digest if you were on a road trip or you're on a treadmill. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. And the only way to do that is to make people comfortable. And the only way to make people comfortable is to not distract them. Yeah. So when I do some people's podcasts and they have like literally a glass wall and there's a control room and you see people running back and forth and they're holding up pieces of paper and they're timing things and there's 5 different people on the keyboards, and I don't know why they want to do that. I don't understand. Like, obviously not everybody's Jamie. And one of the things about having a guy like Jamie, it streamlines the process so well because Jamie does a job of 3 people, at least. There should be 3 people doing what he does. There should be one person that's Googling, one person that's switching the cameras, another person that's monitoring the sound levels and overseeing everything and making sure the lighting is good and everything's going smooth. You would have multiple people doing what he does.
So you mentioned 25 years ago you got a great financial advisor. How did you guys meet to get this whole setup?
I just met Jamie at a comedy club. Yeah, Jamie came to a show at the Ice House, and we were just talking, just hanging out. He told me he's a professional audio engineer, and he was saying we have problems with our sound. And I said, "What would you do to fix it?" He goes, "I could take a look at it." And that was kind of the extent of the conversation, right?
Yeah, mostly.
Pretty much. Yeah. And then Jamie said he took a one-way ticket from Ohio to come to L.A. because this is what he wants to do. And I was like, really? But it was like, it seemed to me And I, for whatever reason, I tend to follow instincts. Even if people say, don't do that. What do you do? I'm like, I don't know. This seems like the thing to do. And like with him, I was like, I think I'm going to hire that dude. And then right away, guy I didn't even know. I didn't know shit about him. He could have been a fucking serial killer. He could have been a fucking con artist. I mean, did we do a background check on you?
You'd have to tell me that. There was talks of it, but I don't
I think
know.
we probably did to make sure you're not a criminal.
I did sign something.
Yeah. But then right away, I was like, yep, I was right. He's the man.
What episode did you come in on?
Jamie's been here for 9 years.
Yeah, no, 11.
11 years.
Yeah.
But like there was some episode number where prior to that
I don't remember.
the audio was shitty and everything.
Came in around 300.
Okay.
290, 300 was when I started.
Yeah. But again, not everybody's Jamie.
Yeah.
But Jamie and I are like kind of telepathic in this weird way. We're like, I'll be talking about something and Jamie will already have it pulled up. Like I'll start the conversation. Did you see this new jet? And then all of a sudden, Jamie's got the video, and you'll see guests go, how the fuck how'd you do that? Did you guys plan this? I'm like, he's the man.
Yeah.
He's like, we have like the best working relationship in that regard. And, you know, like I have other friends that run podcasts and they're always complaining. They're like, you know, the producer chimes in too much and interrupts sentences. They get things wrong. They fuck this up. They do that wrong. They don't show up on time. They're late with their video editing or whatever the fuck it is. There's always something.
Yeah.
And Jamie and I just have it dialed in. But again, it's a skeleton crew. We have one guy who's a video editor. We have one guy who's a booking agent.
So it's like, because everyone would be wondering who has a podcast, like how do you find a Jamie or something that is like high level positions? Even for like companies you have, I've always wondered, how'd you find the people to run those so you can actually do what you do best?
Yeah. Well, with the Comedy Club's a good example. With the Comedy Club, when I started that and I came out here to Austin, it was like the universe had opened it was like, you know when you're driving, sometimes you hit every green light.
Yeah.
It's like it's
it
red.
feels,
and
it feels like it's meant to be.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's how the Comedy Club was. It's like I realized that, you know, I had always had this idea that I wanted to eventually get out of LA. And as my youngest daughter started getting older, I was like, I do not want them growing up in this fucked up, materialistic, fame-driven, bizarro world of LA. Because it's not conducive to becoming a healthy human being and developing discipline and being present and, you know, just having like a well-adjusted, well-balanced adult human being. I'm like, this is a fucking mess over here. Like I see these people that are adults that are raising their kids. These are grown-up babies raising babies. I'm like, this is fucking madness. I got to get out of here. And so when the pandemic hit and then the riots were hitting and then there was fucking zero police presence and there were keeping all these businesses locked down and all these restaurants, these guys I knew that run restaurants, they were all going under. The Comedy Store was fucked. They weren't letting them host any shows. There was no stand-up to be done. And we came out here in May of 2020, and initially I was thinking maybe we'll get a vacation house and we can visit here and go. And then my kids wanted to live here, like right away, because when we were in LA, everybody had a mask on and you couldn't go to a restaurant. We came out here, we're eating at a restaurant in May of 2020. And I remember my kids were like, I can't believe we can sit down in a restaurant. We don't have to wear masks. Like they checked your forehead when you get in there, the temperature. It was all nonsense. Like, what's your temperature? Make sure you're not. and then you sit down and you eat, and everybody was fine. And then a few weeks later, they just let loose everything. They're like, no restrictions. Go back to life. And Gavin Newsom's like, everyone's going to die. What are you doing? And they kept everything locked down forever, kept kids out of school forever. So we came out here. And when we came out here, we started doing stand-up. So I started doing stand-up with Dave Chappelle at Stubbs, which is an outdoor venue. We did it very responsibly. We tested the entire audience. The audience had to get there an hour before the show. Everybody got tested. We really only wound up filtering a small handful of people out that tested positive for COVID over the course of like however many shows we did there. And then we started doing shows indoors. And when we started doing shows indoors, that's when I was realizing we really need a comedy club, like a real comedy club here. Because comics from LA started moving to Austin before I even had a club because they realized that I was doing shows here. and that we could all do shows together. So I'd be like, come down, do a couple shows. So I'd fly them in. They do the podcast. They do a few shows at the club, and they go, this is fucking amazing. It's like we're doing comedy again. And then they started moving here. And then the Comedy Store was shut down. So because the Comedy Store was shut down, all of the best employees were unemployed. So I contacted the talent manager. I contacted the manager. I contacted the bar manager. I contacted all these people. And I said, hey, I'm going to open up a comedy club, but I want to hire you now. And so I'm going to pay you. You'll fly to Austin. I'll give you money to relocate, and then you'll get free money for like a year and a half. You'll get paid a full salary. You'll insurance, everything. Just come here, and we're going to build this club together. And so everything aligned perfectly. So that when the club was open, we were dialed in. The people had already lived here. We had, like, Carrie, our bar manager, is amazing. And she literally recruited the best waitresses and bartenders, brought everybody in. We got up and running, and we were smooth within a week. So it was like
finding her, though. Is that you or
me? I knew her.
Okay.
She was a good friend.
Gotcha.
She was my friend at the Comedy Store for years. Like we'd always hang out together and have drinks after club. She was just cool as shit, and she was really disciplined. And she was really good at keeping creeps out of the comics bar and making sure that everybody wasn't being infringed on. Because there's a comics bar at the Comedy Store, and it's literally Mitzi's bar. She has a bar from her home that is in the Comedy Store comedian's bar. And that was our place. We'd go in between shows and after shows, and we would all hang out there, and it was just fun. It was just laughs and this and that. And I'm like, that's gone now. When we were in Austin, I'm like, I need to recreate that. And I needed Carrie. I needed Adam, who's a talent coordinator. It needed all these different people that understood how to run a club and had been doing it at the highest level at the store. And they were all available because they were unemployed. So it was like everything was perfect. Everything was perfect. It was like all these doors just opened up, and then bam. And so when people say, how'd you put together this comedy club? I'm like, I don't know if I could have done it any other way. Because if I had to start from scratch and all these people were employed and they didn't want to move and LA was going great, I wouldn't be able to recruit them. I wouldn't be able to say, hey, leave your whole life and all your friends and come to Texas.
Yeah.
But it was attractive, 3 years ago.
So overseeing it all, is it kind of just like you have high-level people who take care of it and you can just focus on your comedy
Yes.
and the fun shit, essentially?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, there's a few issues that I have to deal with. There's some decisions that have to be made, and there's problems that have arisen, but nothing major. It's pretty manageable. But it's because the team is really good. And if I didn't have good people, and also people that are legitimately my friends, like if we never worked together again, I would still call them, we'd talk, we'd hang out. They're all my friends. So when we started working together, putting together this club, it was pretty easy. It was like, again, it was like the universe set everything up. Said, you know what the world needs is a new hub of comedy. And I think you could do that. So we're going to like align all these things so you could do this thing that's completely separate from Hollywood, which was always the problem in California. You would see these talented comics that would start watering down their material because they were starting to get television shows. And so guys who were wild when they were younger, they would say hilarious, funny shit that was like really risque. They curbed that. And they started becoming a little mediocre, just a little soft around the edges. They nerfed all the hard parts of their act, and because they were connected to this machine, this fucking woke bullshit leftist machine that wants you to subscribe to a very predetermined pattern of ideas and notions. And if you didn't, you were out.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to talk about Christianity or conservative, you're gone. They're not going to hire you. They're going to hire another person. You're not going to run the Daily Show if you're also running a white right-wing website that uncovers political, discrepancies in the Democratic Party. They won't hire you.
Do those shows still do well? Like
No, they're dead. They're
Okay.
dead. They're useless. I mean, if you go on the Tonight Show now, no one watches. It's like it used to be when Johnny Carson was running the Tonight Show. If you were a comic and you got on the Tonight Show, you would be headlining clubs all across the country because 20 million people were watching.
Yeah.
And if you had a big splash with like a great routine, and they'd go, "Hey, he's going to be at the Charlotte Funny Bone tomorrow night," and then people would go see you. And it was the best way for comics to get discovered was the Tonight Show. Now, it's a non-starter. It does nothing. It does nothing.
What's the best way to get discovered now? Just like
Podcasts, 100%.
what about
YouTube videos, TikTok videos, podcasts. I mean, there's guys like this guy I had on the other day, Ralph Barboza, very talented young comedian. Just started putting some stuff out on TikTok. Went from being a guy who was trying to get opening acts, like he was trying to like middle for friends like my friend Brian Simpson and some other comics that were more established, to all of a sudden selling out like 5 shows in a row on a weekend, and then doing theaters and like that. It went from struggling to killing it in over a course of a couple of months.
Yeah, it's like that Matt Rife as well.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's exploded. Yeah.
And all just from crowd work videos and stuff that he puts on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram.
So in general, maybe it's a stupid question, but people who are at the comedy, it's the Mothership, right? What's it called again? Comedy Mothership?
Yeah.
Okay, so if they're performing there on a semi-regular basis or what have you, what material are people doing new stuff to test it out constantly, or it's like, what are you doing to not burn through existing stuff that is,
and putting it up on Instagram and stuff like that?
Yeah, because it's like guys like Matt Rife, for example, their crowd work videos go bonkers.
Yeah.
But then I'm assuming that stuff is not part of the actual main thing.
Right.
So, and this is like a totally inept, no idea how this works. That's why I'm totally oblivious and asking like this. But is it only testing new stuff and crowd work at these shows, or like how do you even decide what you should put out when you're doing these
videos?
Yeah,
You're
or
putting
like
out
even
stuff?
when they're performing at your place, it's like, are they hesitant to use good jokes because it will get used up before they can do a Netflix special or something?
Well, I think what most of these guys are doing is they're filming stuff like especially if you're filming unusual moments in the crowd. Like Andrew Schultz is great at that. He's got a lot of these videos where he's not burning material because it's just a unique situation in the crowd, and he's really good at crowd work. And so he'll put these videos up, but he also has really good stand-up material. Some of these guys are good at working the crowd, but then their material's shitty. Like the best guys are like Andrew. Like Schultz is great at stand-up, like regular stand. His material's brilliant. And also, he's great at fucking around the crowd because he's real loose. So he'll make a lot of videos of just crowd work. Those videos go viral. Then he eventually puts the material together where he puts out a stand-up special. That makes him even bigger, and then it all compounds on each other.
That seems wild how people could be like situationally funny, like
Yes.
context dependent. So that's not, like, what if you're the guy who's good at crowd work but not have good material, or vice versa?
There are guys like that.
Huh.
Yeah. There's both kinds of guys.
Yeah.
There's guys that are really good at material, and then something happens in the crowd and they fall apart.
Yeah.
That's a crutch too. That's not good. You don't want to be in that situation. You want to be loose.
Yeah.
Or when something goes down, you can go, "What? What are you talking about, man?"
Yeah.
Like, what is it? And for the most part, one of the things that's really good at the club, we keep people from yelling out shit, and we keep people from interrupting. The most important thing is the stand-up and the environment that the comics are able to be comfortable in doing their material, so it's the best show for everybody. So if you get some loud person that just needs a lot of attention, they can distract from the show. I've had guys yell things out, and they completely interrupt a bit that it's got a build point, and they'll stop it right there, and you can't really restart it. So that bit's done now. So you have to abandon it. So you have to stop people from doing that, and you got to kick them out.
I wonder how many people that are trying to come up synthetically create crowd work situations. Like,
I'm sure they do.
Tell their buddy, like, hey, go to the show and yell out this fucking...
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's the case. But the best guys don't need that. Like guys like Schultz, he doesn't need that. He doesn't do that. He'll see some interesting couple, and then he'll start talking to them and joking around. And he's super friendly, and so it feels loose, and they're enjoying. Everyone's smiling, and it's great. It's a different skill set.
You can't fake it to make it. Like, you can only get so far by faking it. You have to be genuinely impulsively funny to make that work.
Right. And he's genuinely impulsively funny. He also has a shitload of charisma, which also adds to that because it's like everyone's enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's like a good time. And he's kind-spirited, so he's not mean while he's doing this. And even if he says something mean, he says it in a way that you're laughing, and then he's like, I mean, I don't mean anything bad by it. Like, it's like you got to like him. But what the comics at the Mothership are doing that's so interesting is that there is 2 nights of open mic nights. So people that are just fucking rank amateurs that have never been on stage have an opportunity to perform there. And they get a couple of minutes. And if you're good and you come back and the talent coordinator sees you and says, how much material have you got? How long have you been doing it? And then maybe you'll get on Kill Tony. And Kill Tony is the cornerstone of the stand-up community because Kill Tony is this wild YouTube show where you have 1 minute and you have 1 minute to perform in front of a live audience. They pull your name out of a bucket and then they read it and they go, Tommy Jones, come on down. And Tommy Jones gets on stage. And people have careers from that now. Guys like Hans Kim and David Lucas and William Montgomery, they're headlining on the road, selling out weekends. And it all came out of this show. And one of the things about the show is you only have 1 minute. So you don't have any time to be virtue signaling or to get clapter or woke or to talk about your trauma. Shut the fuck up and be funny. You have 1 minute. So it teaches you economy of words. You got to get to the point quickly. You got to edit your jokes well so they're not rambling. And you'll see people that don't know how to do that too, which is also awesome about the show. Yeah. Because they'll, Tony and the guests will just destroy that person and make fun of it all. And
it's like a roast table, right? Okay.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And Tony's like the best roaster alive. So he's like the perfect host for this kind of a show.
Yeah.
But so that is our Monday night show. So every Monday night we have Kill Tony. It's packed. It sells out 6 months in advance. It's an amazing show to go watch if you're in town. It's so fucking funny. And it gets better every time. And he's got like this amazing band, these local artists, local musicians that play in the band, and they're really fucking good. And so the whole show's and he's been doing the show for 10 years. So it's just super dialed in.
What's the wait list like to be on the open mic?
The wait list, I don't know. The wait list to be on Kill Tony is anybody can sign up. Hundreds of people sign up every week, and they only pull like 3 or 4.
Do you have to put like an audition or like some sort of breakdown?
Nope, not for Kill Tony. Huh. All you have to do is write your fucking name down.
Damn.
Yeah, you write your name down. It goes in the bucket. They pull your name out, and then you're on.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And every now and then you get a banger. Every now and then someone will come up and they fucking kill, and the audience loves them. And you're like, holy shit, man. There's a guy with cerebral palsy that does stand-up through his phone. So he has his phone connected to a speaker, a Bluetooth speaker. And he sets the microphone by the Bluetooth speaker, and he has his phone with talk to text. So he will type very quick, and he can only use one hand. Like his other hand's fucked. So he's using his one hand and typing out a response, and then it'll play out through the phone.
That's crazy.
And he's fucking hilarious. Was he on America's Got Talent?
Yeah, he was on the finals.
Yeah, Kids in America's Got Talent from Kill Tony.
Huh.
Yeah.
How popular are those shows now? America's
Very.
Got Talent? Still?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think those are pretty popular.
I always wonder, like, the
So
really...
this is the kid. See how his left hand is like completely fucked?
Yeah.
Audio's low.
Sorry, I got a text and my phone died. Please hold. Hi, I'm so happy to be back for the finals. I'm sure you can hear the excitement in my voice.
This is part of. I heard Red Band explain
I have
that
to compete again.
they had some audio issues during this final that kind of fucked over his whole bit.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Dude, have you seen Simon Cowell recently?
Yeah, what's going on with him?
No, man.
He looks worse than Aaron.
Yeah, it's I feel like there's a point where the plastic surgery, no matter how little of wrinkles you've managed to
Jesus.
that's probably a generous picture compared to some of the ones I've seen.
Well, he used to be a good-looking guy. Like, that was what he used to look like.
Yeah.
Right? And now, show what he looks like now? Like what his like eyes are sinking. His forehead looks Botoxed. Looks like he's got some fillers in his cheeks.
Yeah, the thing that's so weird about plastic surgery is it's like objectively you couldn't really tell why the skin looks old, but it just like does, even though there's no wrinkles at
Look
all.
how good he looked back then.
Yeah.
Handsome. He also went on a vegan diet too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And didn't he like get significantly hurt?
Yeah, he got into a bad accident, I think, on like an e-bike.
Oh, jeez.
Fucked up his back, and I think he needed surgery. And
Oh, so
Well-
maybe I shouldn't have said anything.
Well, maybe when you see people like that, it's a combination of multiple things. So if he's on pills because of his surgery, he might be like, you know, and then he's got Botox and his. Just
That's-
get old, buddy.
So,
Just
some
get
of the,
old and keep your smile.
some of the celebrity stories about why, like some like injury or something that resulted in them getting a surgery to look the way they did, though, is like obviously manufactured and totally fabricated.
Oh, really?
Like Zac Efron. Have you
Yeah,
seen his before and after?
But isn't that just he got juiced up to play a
No,
wrestler?
dude.
No?
Look at his face before and after, and you'll be like, what the fuck?
Cowell announced he began eating animal-based foods again in order to rebuild his strength.
after his surgery.
Aha. Where have we heard that before?
2020.
So he broke his back when he fell off his electric motorcycle. Oh, he had a motorcycle. Many press sources confused with an electric bike. The incident occurred when he was testing in his home in Malibu. Taken to the hospital, underwent back surgery overnight. Oh, serious shit. After the accident, he began eating animal-based foods again in order to rebuild his strength. But clearly he's got some Botoxy thing, filler thing going on with his mug.
Yeah. I don't know how old he is.
There's a
but
difference
it's-
between like watching someone age, which is, you know, oh, he looks old, to what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like Madonna.
Yeah, it's not even a human anymore.
It's
almost.
like when you see, well, I guess
Maybe that's
Madonna's. Someone said that Madonna had gotten plastic surgery on her face, and then when they saw her that one time at the Grammys, her face was swollen still, and that it hadn't gone down yet. Apparently, when you really get a lot of nipping and tucking, it takes
Zac
a long
Efron's
ass
incident
time.
happened from a fall.
Oh,
Like a
yeah, it
bad
was like-
accident.
He had his jaw wired
10
shut
10
after
years ago, bro.
breaking in a fall.
He almost died in 2022, or he revealed he almost died. Sorry, in 2022.
Yeah.
During the incident, almost died by breaking his jaw. And then it was responsible for facial swelling, apparent in the viral 2021 video for Bill Nye's Earth Day musical.
Like basically, a couple of years ago, he showed up looking unrecognizable, and then he claimed it was from an injury 10 years ago.
Well, it says he had a potentially life-threatening illness, a form of typhoid or similar bacterial infection, while filming the adventure series Killing Zac Efron in Papua New Guinea. Oh, wow.
Yeah. He's
Well, someone was telling me that he looks different, but I
Oh,
thought he just
dude.
got super jacked for the movie.
Just type in Zac Efron face
He's talking
before
about
and
why
after.
his face is messed up.
It was because of the jaw being rewired?
Like, he definitely took shit for his recent role. Like, there's no
Yeah.
question about that. But it's like, this is beyond, dude. It's
So
like,
you think he got plastic surgery as well?
oh, heavy
Oh,
duty.
shit. Wrong button.
Yeah? Like what kind of stuff?
Look at that. Like, tell me that's from hitting your jaw on a fountain.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that to me looks like roids.
That
That's like Camille Nanjiani, that same sort of thing. Well, that looks very different.
it's like actual mass accumulated, not just body fat loss, and it's not like he's gained muscle for the recent role, but his face, even when he's out of prep for body type roles, he still looks the same. So yeah, like Kumail, obviously he lost a shit ton of fat and gained muscle around his face, so there is some development there, but this is like next level stuff, dude. At least I think so, and I think a lot of people think the same.
He definitely looks different.
Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
it's
So what do you think he's got going on here? Like cheek implants? Like what is it?
I think there's like fillers you can get to make this bone pop out way more, or make it look like there's more structure to it, and that seems to me pretty clear. There's some sort of fillers or something.
And that's what you see in the cheeks?
Potentially, but I think mainly the jaw area. It's just so much more substantially pronounced. It's I don't know. You couldn't chalk it up to roids.
So maybe when his jaw broke,
Like to gain that much mass on your face and then not proportionally on the rest of your body, it would make no sense.
He said he slipped, hit the corner of a fountain, passed out, and woke up with his chin broke, hanging off his face. Whoa.
Yeah. In 2013.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
anyway, it's weird too though because the guy is objectively one of the better looking guys in Hollywood before whatever he did. So it's like what in your mindset would have motivated you to do this to begin with? Like obviously,
I've seen it with women many times where
they fuck up their lips or whatever.
Yeah, they just start going in. And
Yeah.
a little bit of this, my nose is a little too long, and this is this girl that I knew, and I hadn't seen her for a while, and I saw her like 2 years later, and it looked like someone punched her in the face
Oy.
because she just had swollen cheeks because she had decided to put filler in her face. And I don't know her that well, so it's not like I can say, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Like, don't do that. Like, whatever you're doing, you got to stop doing that.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those things like, okay, this is what you're doing now, huh? You just like, you're like, you know what? It makes like this stick up, and that takes away the crow's feet, you know, because it like stretches everything out.
Right.
But it also makes it look like your face is swollen.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like I've seen some young, very attractive girls get plastic surgery, and they almost end up looking like an older woman trying to look young, even though they were young to begin with and looked young.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's well, you know, it's body dysmorphia. You don't see yourself the way other people see you.
Yeah, by the same token, why do you want to gain a bunch of muscle and take steroids or anything? It could be seen just as fucked up by...
I don't know. I think when guys get jacked, it looks good.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean,
There's a difference.
Sure. I'm just saying, like, there's a level of body dysmorphia at both levels for sure.
Well, if there was something available for women, like there is for men, like so men can take steroids and they can get jacked.
Yeah.
And you can get a guy that is just, you know, a fucking pretty normal looking physique, and within 24 months, he looks like a fucking superhero.
Yeah.
Men want that. If
Yeah.
there was a thing like that for women where you could take this and instead of like cosmetic changes, you would literally be more of a woman. Because these guys are actually physically stronger, they can move faster, they have more power. They're a different version of a human being than they were before. But women don't have that. They just have appearance shit. You can make your tits look bigger. You can suck your waist in. You can get your ass stuffed with fat. And it's not the same. There you go, Jeff Bezos.
Not that he did, but if you could go from that to looking like that.
Yeah.
I fully support his jackedness. I like the way he lives.
Yeah.
But when you think about if there was a thing like that for women, so you could take a woman who has, you know, like a twiggy body, just like kind of long and thin and not voluptuous, and they could all of a sudden take a steroid that turns them into Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah,
They would all take it.
Yeah, but I think it's less well known and educated about at scale among women, nor do they care to learn about it. They know plastic surgery, they know stuff they see in magazines, they know the celebrities they follow, but guys, we follow bodybuilders and people in fitness industry and whatnot, and it's a bit of a different like exposure, I feel like, but it's actually hard to convince women that getting a muscular ass is better than injecting like fake synthetic fucking blubber.
Right.
You know? So it's a whole different element of mindset for sure.
Well, have you seen the Madonna videos of her on tour now? Have you seen these, Jamie? Here, I'm going to send this to you because it's fucking bananas. Like, I don't know what the hell she is doing, but it is very strange. Here we go.
How old is she now?
She's in her 60s. Like, probably deep in her 60s, right? Here, I'm going to send this to you, Jamie. But, I mean, it looks like she's wearing a fucking diaper. Here you go, I sent it to you. This is something this is madness. I mean, like, she's thin. I bet her body would look good if she just was this 65-year-old woman who's thin and fit. But instead, look at her butt.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, what's going on there? That is so insane. It's so insane because, first of all, it doesn't make sense. Like, you could not develop an ass like that and have such thin thighs.
Yeah.
It's not possible. And the only way that looks good to have an ass like that is to have those fucking quarter horse thighs that go with it.
Yeah.
Like when you see a woman who has a big butt that she's developed from squats and then she has the legs that go with it, that's hot.
Yeah.
That's hot. This is just fucking sad. And also, like, when she moves around on stage now, she moves around like someone with arthritis.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know how you could focus on your performance knowing that you have, like, a fucking diaper sitting on you, you know? 'Cause it's like I'd be thinking about, does this look, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think she's probably delusional at this point.
Gotta be.
I mean, you got to imagine what it's like. You go from being the object of total desire to everyone. Like when Madonna was 27 years old, she'd walk in the room, everybody like, holy shit, it's Madonna. She was so hot, and she had this incredible body, and she was so talented, and she was just desired by everyone. You go from that to being a monster.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see her at the Grammys, when her face was all swollen, you've seen those images?
I think so.
Find
yeah.
those images.
Yeah, those are extreme.
Because they were so nuts that was the entire topic of conversation for most people after the Grammys. It was like, what the fuck did Madonna do?
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Like,
That's wild.
That's wild. I mean, that's pure insanity.
It's like Addams Family shit.
Exactly. It's all fillers and, I mean, your head is not supposed to be that big. Like, why does her chin stick out that much?
Hey.
And that's all things that were done to mitigate. Yeah, that's what she used to look like.
Crazy.
Yeah. So that was her when she was young. So she goes from that to being that. And what is that? Well, that's the worst journey that a person whose identity is wrapped around them being attractive can ever go through.
Yeah.
Because not only that, your Father Time's fucking you, and then you're fucking yourself by trying to compete with Father Time, and now you're becoming a monster.
Yeah.
So now when people see you, instead of going, whoa, that's Madonna, they're like, yikes.
Yeah.
It's a cautionary tale now.
Yeah, that's like, and it overshadows their musical achievements for
Yeah.
sure, too.
100%, because then it becomes a subject of attention.
Yeah, like Michael Jackson.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, what are they doing now? What's this?
Yeah.
The Michael Jackson one's the greatest example, for sure, because it was so nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, his nose caved in, and you know, there's pictures of him with like it looks like some skin grafting around his nose.
Yeah.
Because it's just collapsing.
Yeah, there was some speculation around if he was like castrated
look at
as a
that.
child too.
Yes, that was what his doctor said. The doctor
Yeah.
that was convicted of giving him, what was it, Propanol? That he used to take anesthesia to put himself under because he couldn't sleep.
Have you ever heard of the castrati?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
like I suspect that he, similar to them,
Yes.
it was like a more modern version of that and was castrated in his youth to preserve the angelic kind of like singing voice.
That's what his doctor said.
Yeah.
His doctor said that his father had done chemical castration on him, which is what they do to some sex offenders. They give him chemical castration, and they did it to him while he was going through puberty so he wouldn't develop a deeper voice.
Which then begs the question too. There's all this like all the scrutiny on him for the pedophilia stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, did the guy even have sexual desire at all?
Right.
You know, it's kind of weird.
I think probably a lot of that stuff was he was emotionally stunted. They say that like your emotional age is often wrapped up in the age that you became famous. So if you're a child star, you're kind of fucked for life.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that's made it through unscathed. Every childhood star I've ever sat down and talked to, everyone I've ever met in the real world, they're always fucked. I've met a lot of really cool actors. Like you hang out, like Scott Eastwood. If you were hanging out with Scott Eastwood, he's like a regular guy. You would not know that he's a movie star. Chris Pratt, completely normal. I've been around that guy a couple dozen times. I'm in mixed company. I've been in elk hunting camp with him. He's super normal, just a cool guy.
Yeah.
You know, there's people that are like that make it through fame, and they're still cool. They're fun to be around. Matthew McConaughey, great guy to be around. I mean, you know, wise and says a lot of cool shit. And he's very interesting, but you can hang with him.
Yeah.
He's not a weirdo.
Yeah.
And he got famous pretty young, but he's smart, and he navigated those waters and turned out to be a really exemplary man. But there's a lot that don't, man. There's a lot that they become famous at a young age, and they're just fucking broken forever. The Corey Feldmans of the world, and the, fill in the blank. There's so many versions of childhood stars that are just destroyed as adults. It's like someone made concrete, but they didn't put all the water in.
Right.
And so the concrete is just brittle. It doesn't have structure to it. They didn't go through the normal process of being a young person, trying to figure out your way in the world and making mistakes and learning and seeing other people make mistakes and having good things happen. And realize, oh, that's because I put in the work and I did this. And then you develop this process, and then you mature over the learning experiences, and you become a person. You become a fully adult woman or a fully adult man. You don't go through that if you're famous when you're young. You're fucked.
Yeah.
You're fucked. Everyone who does it is fucked.
Yeah. It's some people. I haven't met any like huge celebrities really, but some of them you can just feel more relatable when they speak, even in the conversations that are published online and whatnot.
Yeah,
and especially in podcasts when you see them show up, you can sort of see if that's a person that even has like a human interaction capacity with a average Joe kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of them, they'll do podcasts, and you can tell that they're in like PR mode.
Yeah.
And they're putting together, it's almost like they have a routine that they're doing.
Yeah.
And
with actors, you never even know if it's acting the whole fucking time anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
You kind of know.
Do you?
Yeah, because they're off script. And then, if I feel like someone's acting, I'll prod them about little things. I'll try to get them to talk about ghosts. I'll try, you know what I mean? Like what ridiculous shit do you believe in? What do you think? Do you believe in the healing power of crystals? There's something you could fuck with them a little bit, and maybe antagonize them slightly, like joking around, and see how they react to that. And just try to get them off of whatever they're on, whatever this rant you're on that you've prepared, that you think is going to be a good monologue that's going to get you to relate to people. Like, what else?
Yeah. I definitely think a lot of, now obviously this is just totally unfounded advice from a random guy, but a lot of these celebrities become so much more humanized when they do the podcasts that they've been invited on that it seems worthwhile to do once in a while. Because it's like certain guys, they'll have like a weird mystique around them, and they have rumors that circulate and go fucking wild, like, I don't know, like Tom Cruise, for example.
Yeah.
You can't help but think that guy is a wacko if you don't know him probably, or of like, I don't know if he's ever done public stuff.
Well, I know he did that Matt Lauer interview on the Today Show, and it was a giant problem because he was telling Matt Lauer that you don't need psychiatric medicine and that, antidepressants are terrible for you. And he was talking about Brooke Shields and then Matt Lauer was arguing about it, and he seemed like a fucking complete kook.
So is he like the head of Scientology, or like what is that?
It seems like it.
Yeah.
There's another guy.
I don't even know what it goes into that or what can be said about that without getting fucking assassinated.
Well, there's the main guy, and then he's got this wife that seems to be missing.
Oh, jeez.
David Miscavige.
Okay.
So he's got this wife that there has been no sighting of her for like over a decade.
Holy shit.
Yeah, there's some weird shit going on. Like, Scientology is wild.
Like, in my mind, I picture Tom Cruise in like an Emperor Palpatine hood, like walking around a palace of like Scientology people. And I'm assuming that's not what happens.
I'm assuming it is.
Okay. You never know.
Did you ever see the time where he receives an award, some sort of like greatest human ever award?
What?
And he gets a like way bigger than the Olympic gold medal. It's like a fucking dinner plate, a gold dinner plate around his chest. Yeah. And they salute L. Ron Hubbard to LRH. Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't.
It's leaked internal video of one of these celebrations.
Whoever leaked it's dead for sure.
Yeah, they killed that guy.
Yeah.
They threw him off the fucking Sea Org.
Yeah.
Fed up to the sharks. See if you can find that video because it's so bonkers. He gets this fucking award for being like a really good actor. It's like, look at this. This is like Tom Cruise, the Freedom Medal of Honor of Valor. Freedom Medal of Valor. So I guess this is cell phone footage. Look, they're saluting.
This is like the real live stream. This is produced, but it was taken or something.
Yeah, somehow or another somebody got a hold of this and put it out to the general public. So David Miscavige is look at that fucking dinner plate he's got on his neck. He's giving the Freedom Medal of Valor to the Mission Impossible guy, and everyone's cheering. They salute each other, which is my favorite part.
So
Look at
L.
this.
Ron Hubbard is a fictional author that is dead now, or is he alive?
Yes, he's dead.
Okay.
Not only is he a fictional author, he is a guy. Please put his speech up here. We'll talk about L. Ron in a minute. Get me here. Say something. This is so crazy. Look at him. International Association of Scientologists. They got air horns and everything. So he's the top dog.
Yeah, that's what I would think. Yeah.
Trying to skip ahead to 6 o'clock.
Yeah, how long do they cheer for?
God
It might be
bless.
like North Korea where you have to cheer or they kill you.
You're welcome. I'm really, really honored to be here with you. Thank you, sir.
That was this whole speech.
Thank you for your trust. Thank you for your confidence
Like, this is acting.
Yeah.
in me. And I've personally been very privileged to see what you do to help, to protect, to serve all of us.
It's like, what's that mean? Protect and serve.
You protect my fucking gay rumors. I don't know, but it's pretty kooky. But at the end of it, they salute L. Ron Hubbard and they say to LRH, and they all like point to his fucking photograph and they salute it, which is one of my favorite. There it is. Like, yeah, watch this. Watch this.
All right? To LRH.
They all stand up and salute.
Oh, dude.
Okay, so L. Ron Hubbard was not just a writer of fiction, but the single man who wrote the most fiction in human history. He has the most published words of any human that has ever lived. And if you ever read his stuff, this motherfucker never made a second draft in his life. They are terrible books, terrible stories. It's like the dumbest science fiction that you have ever read. Like some person with a mental illness is just rambling and writing all this stuff down. And it was, I think he initially wrote for like those pulp magazines, like science fiction magazines back in the day, and then wound up writing Dianetics. And, you know, Lawrence Wright covered him and the whole movement pretty extensively in Going Clear. I read the book, and there was a HBO documentary series on Going Clear all about Scientology. And, you know, it was all of it. A lot of it was like people that were former members of Scientology, like Leah Remini, that, you know, at a certain point in time, they were like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what is this? And like, especially when you get to the highest levels of knowledge, and then they allow you to go and read these scrolls that are just like so obviously crazy.
Yeah.
Like the Thetans came down and they're frozen souls and they threw them in a volcano, and the, you know, you're a container for this. Like,
But you only get access to this literature if you're like...
exactly. Well,
And you're-
somebody has released some of it. There's people that have released some of it online. Like, you could find it. I don't know if Scientology's had that stuff removed.
And that is Wikipedia.
Okay, here it is. October 1984, an American judge issued a ruling writing of Hubbard that the evidence portrays a man who has been virtually a pathological liar when it comes to his history, background, and achievements. In private affirmations, Hubbard wrote to himself, "You can tell all the romantic tales you wish. You know which ones were lies. You are gallant and dashing and need to tell no lies at all. You have enough real experiences to make anecdotes forever. Stick to your true adventures. Or, if you wish, as you will, tell adventures which happened to others. People accept them better." I don't know what that means.
Oh, he wrote
But
that to himself.
he wrote it to himself. He also like gave himself a bunch of medals. So there's like a
Them with their medals, eh?
there's a photograph of him wearing like this Sea Org jacket on, and it's like littered with medals, like he was fucking overseas. He claimed to have been wounded in combat, but was never awarded a Purple Heart. Like, he lied apparently about his military background and a bunch of different things. And it appears, at least what Lawrence Wright is saying, that what he created Scientology for was sort of to self-analyze his own mental health issues. And he utilized a lot of existing psychological literature to try to concoct Dianetics. And Dianetics was a book that they would sell late night TV. Like I bought it, and this was like 1994 when I was reading Anthony Robbins stuff, and I was always trying to like better myself, so reading self-help shit. So I see this commercial for Dianetics. It's like, Dianetics, this book will unlock all the power of your mind. It's like the commercial had like a volcano and all this different shit. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll try that out. And for years after I ordered that book, I don't think I ever read it. I think I opened it up a couple times and I lost interest. For years, I got invited to seminars and programs and these different things that they would do. They would just use this mailing list that they got from the suckers that ordered Dianetics, and then they would just try to get them to join Scientology.
Damn. So it's like a big funnel system.
Yeah, and it was super effective, too, because they were really good at recruiting famous actors. So they had a ton of famous actors. You know, it was obviously John Travolta and Kirstie Alley and Tom Cruise and famously Chef from South Park. What was that guy's name? The singer. Isaac Hayes. So Isaac Hayes wound up leaving South Park because South Park was shitting on Scientology.
So is this sort of like the steroid use celebrity thing where you just don't ask them about it? Like in interviews for the Scientology people, like you would think if I'm having a chance to talk to Tom Cruise or whoever else, I might ask a few things about this fucking, you know?
Well, I think in order to get access to Tom Cruise, you have to be vetted as a person who's not going to push him. You're not going to ask him any weird questions about Scientology or anything. I think they're very controlling. And obviously, getting an interview with Tom Cruise is a big get, so you have to agree to all these things. I would imagine that that's part of the program.
Right.
That's just a guess, though. But the point is, L. Ron Hubbard literally wrote that if you really want to make money, you start a religion.
That's crazy.
And that's what he did.
Is like the religion all of his works consolidated, or is it just a specific subsect of his random publishings?
I think it's not all of his work, because most of his work is just pure fiction.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he had the stuff where at least Lawrence Wright's assertion is that he was trying to psychologically manage his own issues.
So was his assertion that his fictional work is to be disregarded as connected to this, and this is actually real?
Yes, but meanwhile, his fictional work mirrors, like the nonsense in his fictional work mirrors the nonsense in Scientology. It just seems so fucking kooky.
Yeah.
Like, what do they believe? Like, what are the Thetans thing? Like, there's something really kooky about what the underlying principles of Scientology and what their core belief is. To the point where some of the people in Going Clear, like, they're talking about seeing it.
Well, this combines two of our favorite stories from this podcast, the Trapped in the Closet thing. R. Kelly. This is the Trapped in the Closet episode of South Park.
Right.
And
it's Tom Cruise. Yeah.
They show it in full cartoon.
Oh, and they explain.
Yeah, this is exactly on the screen. It says like this is exactly what's in their book or something like that.
We'll play that then.
Yeah.
Evil Lord Xenu. All began reason for people feeling sad and depressed. An alien reason. It all began 75 million years ago. Back then, there was a galactic federation of planets, which was ruled over by the evil Lord Xenu. Xenu thought his galaxy was overpopulated, and so he rounded up countless aliens from all different planets, and then had those aliens frozen.
This is actually what Scientologists believe.
Xenu's galactic cruisers, which looked like DC-8s, except with rocket engines. Cruisers then took the frozen alien bodies to our planet, Earth, and dumped them into the volcanoes of Hawaii. The aliens were no longer frozen, they were dead. The souls of those aliens, however, lived on, and all floated up towards the sky. But the evil Lord Xenu had prepared for this. Xenu didn't want their souls to return, and so he built giant soul catchers in the sky. The souls were taken to a huge soul brainwashing facility, which Xenu had also built on Earth. There, the souls were forced to watch days of brainwashing material, which tricked them into believing a false reality. Xenu then released the alien souls, which roamed the Earth aimlessly in a fog of confusion. At the dawn of man, the souls finally found bodies which they could grab onto. They attached themselves to all mankind, which still to this day causes all our fears, our confusions, and our problems. L. Ron Hubbard did an amazing thing telling the world this incredible truth. Now all we're asking you to do is pick up where he left off.
But I don't know any of this stuff.
Neither did L. Ron when he started. He said he just closed his eyes and wrote down whatever came to mind. You can do the same. Just let it flow.
Okay, I'll try. I just wish I could write in my room, but Tom Cruise won't come out of the closet.
I know. We've sent Nicole Kidman up there to see if she can hear it.
So that's the thing that they found out when they reached the highest levels of knowledge.
Has anyone come after South Park in any significant way? Because it's like they're probably like the only show that has no holds barred, will like fucking wreck you.
Well, they're the only show that Comedy Central leaves alone, too.
Oh, really?
But there's no way you could make South Park today if you were an unknown group of cartoonists.
Yeah.
No chance. They would never let you. It's too crazy.
Yeah.
They're too, but it's the only good show on the network, so they kind of have to let it go.
Have you seen their depiction of Disney World and stuff? It's fucking comical, dude.
It's the one.
Mickey is this fucking tyrant overlord, and he like goes and beats up his employees and stuff. And he's just talking in his high-pitched Mickey voice and just swearing at his employees and stuff.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
What was it? There's a one recently, the Panderverse, where
that was
Cartman
great.
was replaced by a black trans woman or something.
Yeah.
It's a great show. I mean, and it's been great forever. I mean, I saw the first South Park episode was a VHS tape. That was their little Christmas special. Like, what would Brian Boitano do? And that was in like 95 or 96 or something like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. They've been banging it out ever since then.
I guess that's the upside of cartoon, is you can keep the characters the same age and just run it in perpetuity, essentially.
Yeah. And you can get away with wild shit that you could never get away with. Like, remember when Paris Hilton and that gay teacher had a slut off? They had a whore off, and he
sounds hilarious.
He stuffed her up his ass. That's how he won. He literally jumped on top of Paris Hilton and stuffed her in his ass.
Oh my God. I love how they don't even try to be careful about how they like tiptoeing around it. They'll just say the actual names, have an actor who sounds as close to them as possible, and just go full blown.
Yeah. They're a national treasure.
Yeah.
They go hard.
Yeah.
And they're so important because they're like one of the few people out there that's willing to, in this day and age where you can't even make comedy movies anymore. There's so few comedy movies being made. You're never going to see a Tropic Thunder today.
I don't watch a lot of movies nowadays, but I can't recall the last time I've seen something that was worth mentioning in comedy for a movie, personally.
It's been forever. It was like The Hangover.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Super bad. I mean, it's been a long fucking time.
I went to Hawaii for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and I saw the license plates, and that was the thing it reminded me of, is the Mick Levin's fake ID. Fucking sick movie.
That was a great movie, man. Yeah. And you can't make movies like that anymore. Just too many people come after you. But South Park still does the same shit.
Yeah.
They go as hard, if not harder, than ever before. And without them, we wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
Not on a television show.
Yeah. Have you seen the enhanced games?
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, total tangent, but it's like...
Is it real? Is it happening?
Apparently.
Okay.
Yeah,
so tell everybody what the enhanced games are.
So I'm not fully, in the know about updates on it, but my understanding is basically an organization that is trying to, stand up against the proposed corruption that is in, the IOC and the Olympic system. Like, basically, you have these top-tier athletes who prepare their whole lives to compete at these events, and they get paid essentially fucking nothing, even though they're the best athlete in their, whatever category they're competing in. And they'll be, like, essentially robbed and have less monetization capacity than the entire event that basically oversees and has, like, a monopoly on it. And... it's still highly sought after to compete in it, so people do it anyways to represent their country. It's all a big pride thing. We've talked about the people who said they would take years off their life to win a gold. That's still very much a thing, but it's like we've also seen massive corruption among, the testing organizations, certain countries getting around like the Sochi Olympics, for example. Icarus, great documentary to watch about that.
Yeah.
Where basically certain countries are, depending on how risky they want to be or how, in depth they want to get with their, doping regimens, essentially get around the system, and there's protections in place depending on which country they're in, and ways they basically finagled where the Olympics are seen as a corrupt organization to many people, and they will, selectively scrutinize certain people and athletes and whatnot, and has created this weird dynamic where, you can't perform to the greatest capacity that you could because you have to remain within their narrow confines of what's allowed and what's not allowed. And then also that could be at the detriment even of your recovery capacity. Like there's a lot of compounds that you should be able to use even for recovering from injuries that are on the WADA banned substance list that make no sense to be on there. Like even recently BPC 157 was added, which is fucking crazy when it's like essentially bioidentical. But yeah, it's like this organization, the Enhanced Games, is essentially encouraging anyone who wants to compete at the highest level and use whatever they want and go sauce to the gills in their respective event to show up here and show what can be done with modern technology, performance enhancement to the max.
Interesting.
So it's like whenever we talk about, oh, this guy popped for whatever, and then, a lot of us will say, I don't give a fuck if they take shit. I would just want to see what the highest level of performance could be. Let them do what they want kind of thing. This is that with doctor oversight, apparently, from high-level individuals, and they tout that it's going to be as safe as it could be within the confines of, pushing yourself to the limit, essentially. So it's basically like the anti-Olympics, and they're going to hold their first event, I've heard, at the same time as the Olympics to basically cannibalize the watch time and also show that people who are in their organization can beat the records of the Olympics, and they have like cash bonuses available for people who beat world records and things of this nature to make sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they want people to actually they want the athletes to have actual money earning potential that makes it worthwhile to compete as well. Whereas the Olympics, you're kind of stuck within narrow confines of what you can monetize versus not.
Look at this. He's the fastest man in the world. He's broken Usain Bolt's 100-meter record, but the world isn't ready for him. The Olympics hate him. Come watch him compete in the 2024 Enhanced Games. Who is this person?
It's in the video, it says he can't show his face. So it says, right there, I can't show you my face.
He's white, though, so I'm skeptical.
That's crazy. That guy's faster than Usain Bolt? Really?
This also is a marketing video, so...
Yeah, maybe it's just like this hypothetical person exists.
Interesting. Look, it says new version of the video as Twitter decided to take down the last one.
It's pinned from July, so I don't know.
Huh.
Did Elon even own it then?
When did he buy it? Yes.
Yeah.
He owned it in July, right?
Okay. But yeah, it'd be worth maybe going to their site for a better summary of. But essentially, it's like sauce to the gills Olympics versus, and they want to compete with the actual Olympics and have no testing, do whatever you want, but oversight from, high level doctors to keep you as safe as possible. Because oftentimes in the Olympics, people will argue, the safety capacity of it. But it's like in the Olympics, a lot of times people are using drugs that are considered inferior from a safety profile simply so they can circumvent the testing. So they'll end up using like Frankenstein drugs that are worse for you and are super liver toxic or terrible for your brain or what have you, just to be able to use something that gives you a little bit of an edge in one vector. Whereas here you could use actual, testosterone, however much you need or want, erythropoietin within the confines of whatever is safe for you. Obviously there's risk for sure still, but it's, a very interesting pivot that a lot of people have eyes on.
It is interesting, but where is it going to air?
I don't know. They say they have partnerships being spun up with like big broadcasting networks or something. I could be misspeaking on that because that seems hard to coordinate when it's like traditional media potentially. So I don't really know.
Well, if I was ESPN, I'd jump right on.
Oh,
board.
yeah. Fuck.
I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see the
not
freak
going to
show.
watch? Yeah, exactly.
Fuck yeah, I want to see the freak show.
Yeah.
And I think that, the only issue would be disruption of the endocrine system for young athletes. Because if you are doing steroids, your body's going to shut down production of testosterone. You could become infertile.
Yeah, like there's ways, again, though, when you have, no holds barred access to ancillary medications and doctor oversight. Like there's ways to sustain. Like we know now that you can sustain fertility on hormones.
Right.
So it's just something like, for example, when I first started taking gear when I was, like, I don't know, over 10 years ago at this point, no one was talking about how you could take HCG concurrently with your exogenous anabolics to sustain testicular volume. And we were just told, if you want to get fertile again, at the time when you want to have a kid, just start taking the fertility drugs and then you'll be good. Little did we know it's actually fairly important to sustain that testicular mass as you're exposing yourself to the drugs to actually smooth your transition to recovery. Because it's like, if the organ is literally atrophying, trying to expect the same recovery capacity of like a shrunken, atrophied, shriveled testicle versus something that's been the same size and function the entirety of your anabolic exposure, it's like night and day different. So like there's new education around a lot of this stuff that you would ideally be getting if you were one of the guys competing. But, obviously it's nuanced and up for interpretation. If that's like, no one, I don't think, would ever be a proponent of it being safe. Like I wouldn't say it is at all. Like obviously you're still putting your cardiovascular system at risk, brain, and yeah, like your fertility could be impacted if you're not very careful about how you manage it and manipulate stuff. So.
Right. And you could obviously see if you will have an enhanced games, if someone went super hypophysiological. Like
that's a mouthful.
Yeah. I figured you would be the guy to say that mouthful around. If you went over the top, you would have more performance, but also a lot more risks. Yeah,
for sure. Like there's going to be a diminishing returns. And obviously when it's no holds barred, people are going to push it. But my understanding is the guy who runs it would speak better to it than me. It might be worth connecting with him, but it's, I think the doctors are going to oversee, and I don't know if they're going to put limits on what biomarkers can get to before they determine like, okay, you're in unsafe territory, like tone it back.
Yeah.
Because then obviously then at that point you present a layer of doping to get around the thresholds too.
Right.
So then it's like you have doping in the doped Olympics, which it's interesting. So either way, though, I'm interested to see the outcome. I've heard a lot of Olympic athletes that have been popped are competing. I've heard a lot of people that just want to compete and wouldn't have been able to in the Olympics because they want to use shit or competing. Like, there's a lot of people apparently interested. So
interesting.
Yeah.
If they do start breaking Olympic records, that will be wild.
Yeah.
That will be wild.
Yeah.
Well, Florence Griffin Joyner, her records still stand, right? Don't they?
Yeah. I don't know which records have been rescinded other than, like off the top of my head, the only one that's notable that I would mention is like Lance Armstrong. He's had everything rescinded. And
that doesn't make any sense, though.
No, it's fucking
His
stupid.
makes the least sense because you have to go back to 18th place to find someone who didn't test positive on some of his races.
Yeah, like the wild
Florence
thing
Griffith Joyner.
With like Usain Bolt too, it's like of all the people who have broken 100-meter dash records, he's the only one who supposedly is natural, and he has the best record of all of them. Like I suppose it's in some alien genetic scenario, it's possible, but it's like what's the likelihood of he wasn't also
Also, imagine Usain Bolt on some shit.
Like full board, not just like finagling the
Right.
system, which is what a lot of people think he did, but no way to prove it.
Right. Yeah, if you could just let that guy with superior genetics just go ham.
Yeah. I think they need to break some world records to really get the attention too, because it's like if they just have above average exceptional athletes compared to the average layman, but not exceptional enough to be, because you still, even naturals that are at the peak of their.
That's him beating everybody?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
They're straining so hard. Yeah. It's just like.
Because like in every sport, there are going to be outliers that even naturally shit on guys who are doped as hell. So like it's certainly possible that they still fall short of world records even with the talent that's using fucking everything. So to be determined how impactful it is and who's competing, I guess. But I'm going to be watching regardless.
Well, UFC went through one of the starkest contrasts when they brought aboard USADA, and you got to see people's physiques melt.
Yeah.
Like literally melt.
Yeah.
You got to see their shoulders shrink, and Vitor Belfort's the greatest example of it. Because Vitor, when they used to have a testosterone use exemption, which you would allow fighters to be on testosterone use therapy, but you're also self-administering. And he was going hard.
Yeah.
He was going hard. When Luke Rockhold saw him, he was like, Jesus Christ, this guy has muscles on his fucking teeth. Like, he just looked like, what? He was like, what is this guy on?
Yeah.
And he had not just this incredible physique, but also a lifetime of combat sports skills and the mind for it. And then on top of that, this intense confidence, because he was basically not a human.
Yeah.
I mean, he had levels of testosterone that no human gets to. So he was just fucking raging, just ready, no fear. Ready
And
to get,
sustaining it through the hard training, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing, like we were talking about jiu-jitsu. Like these jiu-jitsu guys before the show, I think we were talking about.
Yeah.
These guys are training 365 days a year.
Yeah.
And you don't do that and train 6 hours a day every day without some gear. Like, this is the only way you're going to recover. You'll break everything down. You won't be able to recover in time for the next training session. There's a balance that has to be achieved.
Yeah.
And when you start adding, like, hardcore anabolics into that balance, like, it shifts everything. And your ability to sustain work is just radically improved.
What do you think about USADA getting replaced?
I don't know exactly what the new protocol is going to be, but I have heard that they're not going to let them take PPC 157, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
So they're adhering to like the WADA banned substance list, presumably.
Allegedly, but it could be, like a little wink, a little nod. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it, and only time will tell. I think this current administration's contract with USADA is still applicable for the next few months.
Yeah, I think USADA standard protocol is in place until January 1.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. And, that's why I'm going to turn to you to say, like, what do you think's going on here?
Yeah, I guess it depends how they document the positive test results, too, because it's like back in the day, depending on the organization, sometimes they'll publish exactly what the person popped for, what happened, what, scrutiny is happening to them in the moment, how it's being further reviewed. And it was like, very negative press even before they've actually confirmed and proved this guy cheated necessarily.
Right.
And then USADA kind of took this different angle where they would kind of be a little bit more vague about it. And then they would get some scrutiny about if they're covering up for certain people. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they were like, getting scrutiny for being hyper stringent where they'd like show up to guys' places in the middle of the fucking night when they're trying to sleep.
Yeah.
And it's a very, as far as the new organization, their level of scrutiny and how it's going to play out and how, private they're going to keep the results, it's to be determined. But if they're following the same WADA banned substance list with the same kind of protocols, I imagine it's going to be similar, but with, from what I understand, more scrutinous testing on some of the endogenous bioidenticals. So like EPO, I think Nowitzki said they're going to up their frequency of testing. Because, some of this stuff at the end of the day, there's only so much budget to allocate to where it's still a viable economic thing. So It's like, are you going to EPO test like every fucking sample of every single athlete, however many times a year? Like some people are tested like, I don't know, I forgot what Yuri was tested. It was like some insane amount of times per year. Are you going to EPO test, HGH isoform test them, carbon isotope ratio test? Are you going to do that on every sample he's ever produced?
Right.
Probably not. So you got to have some reproducible, economically viable strategy. But
I think they tested Yuri a lot because he was in recovery from shoulder surgery too.
Yeah, but then it's like, why isn't guys like, Connor getting tested out the ass?
Because he got out of the pool.
Yeah, but even when he went back in the pool, it's like...
Well, now he's testing.
How frequently, though?
Well, I don't know. They just started testing him really recently.
Guy's face definitely still looks a bit saucy.
Well, he was jacked. And also, that's when you should do it.
Oh, for
when
sure.
you have something like a catastrophic leg injury. I mean, he's got rods in his legs. He's had multiple surgeries. It's not just one.
Yeah.
And then, it doesn't always heal right. And it breaks again, like Dan Hooker. He has a rod in his arm. He broke his forearm in a fight. I think it was the Jalen Turner fight. And so he had it fixed, had rods put in. He just broke it again. So now he has to have a second surgery. He has to have that. They're doing some new procedure to try to get the bones to fuse because the bones didn't fuse correctly, and the rods were the only thing holding it in place, and it snapped.
It's really weird how they justify certain compounds that can be in and out of testing because it's like you could abuse the fuck out of amphetamines out of competition, but then you can't use BPC. Like how does that make any sense?
Doesn't make any sense. It's all bizarre, and I think in a perfect world, professional athletes would utilize everything possible to get the best possible performance.
Yeah.
Again, my only concern would be young people ruining their endocrine system.
Yeah.
And then the possible there's real issues with overuse, like overdosing. Because if you tell someone, hey, if you take, 100 milligrams of this thing, you'll have an improved performance. Okay, what's going to give me a stroke?
Yeah.
If I take 200 milligrams, what happens? Do I move twice as fast? Like, what happens?
Yeah, and some of the weight cutting will get even more extreme with diuretic use. And
right.
Yeah, some of it, you'll have a lot, like kidney failures, pre-competitions.
Right. And then the question is going to be like, what kind of testing protocol are they going to use? Is it going to be random? Is it going to be something you can game? Like, I know who was the athlete that was taking those testosterone gummies and they were in and out of your system in a short period of time?
Alex Rodriguez.
There you go. He was taking a bunch of different shit. But they were taking testosterone gummies that, would only stay in your system for a few hours.
As of now, and I stay pretty on top of the literature, it's still very you can still circumvent the tests even with highest scrutiny. So, with things like test, EPO, I've seen upwards of 50% of subjects in studies getting around tests trying to find if they're doping. Like knowing that they're using guys in the study as subjects of you're getting microdosed EPO and we're going to test you for it rigorously and still passing even when they're trying to catch them via the study parameters. So I think a lot of people are going to be doing the same shit they've been doing. I think the scrutiny is going to be similar probably, but perhaps more like at least Nowitzki's framing it like there's more budget being allocated to some of the more rigorous tests. But I don't know. I imagine it'll be similar, but I've also heard that this organization also works with the NBA and some other pro sports, which are traditionally seen as pretty lax in contrast.
Yeah.
So
I would imagine it's going to be a little more lax, and I would support that.
Yeah.
I certainly support guys taking things to recover from injuries like Connor did with his leg injury. 100%. No question about it. I'm 100% all in on that. That's the only way. No one comes back from that. No one has ever come back from that catastrophic leg break.
Yeah.
The shin break, not a single athlete has come back from it and performed at the same level.
Yeah.
Anderson Silva's the only guy who came back and fought multiple times, and he was not the same guy.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Like Connor's definitely gotta win when he fucking comes back.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like his legacy is like not entirely hinged on it or anything, but I mean he's got a lot to live up to not just yeah.
But also, if you were a coach and you wanted to look at this in terms of a long-term career strategy, I would want a tune-up fight. 100%. I would not want him going right in there against Islam Makhachev.
Yeah, he's still trying to go like balls deep and pick the hardest dudes.
Well, that's him. That's why he's a champion. That's why he's a warrior. I mean, he feels like he could just get. But one of the things that he said about the Dustin Poirier fight, the first one, the second fight, but the first one of the most recent ones, where he got knocked out. He said, I was inactive. He goes, it caught up to me. I could feel it. I could feel it while I was in there. My timing wasn't as good, You need to be active to be at the highest levels of world-class mixed martial arts competition. I just don't see how you can take 2 years off, multiple surgeries, get on juice, get off juice, and then jump in there against the best in the world. Maybe he can do it, but if I was his coach and the option was available, I'd say let's get someone who's not even in the top 15. Let's get some guy who is beatable, but a good test. We'll call it a tune-up fight. We get to see how you perform. This guy gets an opportunity to beat Conor McGregor. You get an opportunity to test your skills again and feel the lights and feel the pressure, get your timing back, have that fight. 6 months later, you have a big fight.
Do you know when UFC 300 would be? Like that seems like a pretty big event that they would probably.
When is that supposed to be, Jamie? April, I think. April.
Is that too soon for him to be fighting?
Well, there's a 6-month thing in the pool, right? So here we are in November.
Contingent on USADA, though.
Yeah, and contingent on whether right. If USADA's out, maybe they don't have a 6-month thing anymore.
Right.
Right.
Like,
Good point.
I wonder if he's like, obviously that's an event you would think he'd be in.
I would think. You would definitely want him in that event.
Yeah.
But then the thing is, like, here's a good question. If you give someone an exemption, you let them get out of the pool, and they're taking some hardcore steroids to heal their shin break, how much gain do you maintain from that improvement in your performance? Because it's not zero.
No, it's I think a lot of it is also indirect through the time in the gym and skill acquisition, because a lot of people overlook the recovery capacity enhancing component. So it's like, if you're able to, it's not just about how much muscle you've gained and objective measurements of, oh, your bench press went up by X amount. It's also how many more hours were you able to train relative to your competition because of this.
Right.
And that's that many more hours working on X skill, this skill, that,
Right.
doing your endurance work, whatever. You're able to do more things and have more bandwidth allocated to your, skill, sustaining or, development. So as far as the studies go for retention of what's called myonuclei, like how much you can actually bank up from steroid use, it doesn't seem to be something that's going to sustain for, in perpetuity like we once thought. It's kind of finicky if that's actually something that happens or not. Like, a lot of people will still shrink back down when they come off, but he's competing pretty soon after being like what appeared to be pretty fucking full board. Like, the guy was essentially unrecognizable compared to traditional, Connor.
Yeah,
So-
he looked like a light heavyweight.
Yeah, it was like, to me, his face looked like the first time a guy takes gear. It's like, oh, wow, you've gained like 15 pounds of water.
Yeah.
So-
Everything got big.
So, yeah, like, it didn't even look like it was an attempt to do it in a, I'm trying to microdose way. It's like a real cycle,
Right.
seemingly.
Right.
So, and why not if you're not being tested and you
Yeah.
can? So,
And it's probably fun.
yeah. I get it. Yeah, for sure.
But the question is, like, when it comes to performance, like physical ability, strength, power, speed, you don't go back to zero. So
no,
if
I think
you're-
you would retain some of it.
Yeah, how much of it?
That would be so speculative. So I think
Let's
it,
speculate.
like, let's say a guy takes one cycle of testosterone at like a traditional amount that guys use, like 500 milligrams is a pretty common like bodybuilder starting level cycle.
Is that per week?
Yeah, 500 milligrams per week.
Okay.
So that's like, 3 to 3.5 times what a traditional TRT dose would be. That would gain you, a significant amount of lean mass and strength, and you would probably sustain that for, again, as the hormones work its way out of your system. Even as they're residually leaving, you still have that bleed of hormone that's sustaining even during your training, subjecting yourself to, even if you had poor sleep, heavy weight cutting, like you still have synthetic drug that is bleeding out of your system and holding at least non-fluctuating values other than the bleed out time. So
Look at the size difference.
yeah, it's wild.
Look at him in 2022. He's fucking massive.
The face difference is like the most staggering to
Yeah.
me too.
Look at his neck.
Also, weight cut. I don't know. How
Yes.
much that difference
Dude,
is,
that
but
shot with him on the
down
bottom
there,
left
Yeah.
with his arm
Oh,
around the
right
dude, he
That-
looked. Oh, they cut off his quads, but his quads looked fucking nutty in that picture.
Yeah. The one where it shows him at the bottom of those 3 photographs, Jamie,
This one?
that is when he made weight for 145, though.
Oh, Skeletor, bro.
Yeah, he was literally starving himself.
That's wild.
He was starving
He looks
himself.
like one of those like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah,
guys.
monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what he looked like back then.
So yeah, I think that, within the span of competing within a year, like you're going to retain, it would take, depending on how fast the compound would work its way to your system, depends on the ester chosen. Like I'm sure you're familiar with, your testosterone is probably a testosterone cypionate, for example. So that like determines how long it will take to metabolize out of your body. So that one has close to a 10-day half-life. So that would take 50 days essentially to clear out of your system. So for him, if you cleared out something that took 50 days to get out, like you would still have residual benefit for months thereafter, for sure. And whether it's going to be 100% or 0%, I would speculate to be somewhere in the middle. Maybe.
Interesting.
You're going to lose a lot of the temporary weight fairly rapidly, though. Like a lot of that blood volume, water retention will dissipate within the first number of weeks. And then after that, you're kind of whatever tissue you've accumulated will slowly go over the next months, which you'd probably retain, I don't know, I would say half by the time maybe 25 to 50%, but that's,
Do you think the attitudes about this stuff are changing? Because it used to be, the Barry Bonds, Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, they're cheaters. These guys are cheating. Do you think that the perception will change as the use of these things gets accepted more? First, maybe with peptides, then with some other things. And they would realize, look, sports are all about watching people do the greatest fucking things that's physically possible. Mm-hmm. Why are we stopping them from using modern science to do this when we use modern science to enhance every other thing?
Yeah, I think the stigma around it is largely media hype and taboo discussion of oh, this thing is not, it's frowned upon if you're using it, but platforms that are educational and provide insight into the realities, the pros and cons, I think are becoming more widespread and viewed, and the exposure is getting out there to actually bring to light the validity of certain use cases. So with a BPC 157, the only thing you'll hear from WADA is how it's banned and it's performance enhancing. But then you'll hear guys like us who we talk about, hey, this is literally essentially a bioidentical compound that you produce naturally in the gut. So it's not like some synthetic, pharma sketch drug. In addition, it's pretty well tolerated given the anecdotes we have. There's not human literature, but very impactful on recovery. And it's, we know tons of people who've used it with great success. And it's I
don't know anybody who's used it that has had a problem.
Yeah. So now that's not to say it's risk-free because it's pro-angiogenesis, which would be cancer cell promoting in the wrong situation and context. But in general, there's more education than ever, and it continues to accelerate, bringing attention to the validity of, even the stem cells that you can only get out of the country. Where are you going to hear about that shit at scale other than a platform like this?
Right.
You would probably get scrutinized to hell if you were talking about that in a traditional mainstream medium. That's illegal in the U.S.
100%. And then, that's one of the most important things I think about your show and about a lot of the shows like that is that you don't tiptoe around these things. You're just completely open and honest about them. And that encourages other people to do the same. And then you're also really well read on these things. So these discussions get had in a form. And then when you're talking to guys like Huberman or Peter Attia, you're talking to these, legitimate scientists that can back up this and explain what the pathways and the mechanisms behind all these things are. So it gives people, I think right now we have a much more balanced understanding of what these things are and what the benefits are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I hope more people continue to seek education, and it's great to see the more mainstream adoption from guys like Huberman and Attia, because it's also a big hurdle for traditional scientists to go against the mainstream narrative and kind of accept that there could be validity to a compound that's seen as for research purposes or things of that nature, or it's illegal in the U.S. so it must be bad. It's well, maybe look at both sides of the equation.
Yeah, for sure. But listen, man, it's always cool to talk to you. I'm glad you're out there, and you are the poster boy for if you look at low production value but high reward.
Thanks.
I mean, you have a fucking air conditioning system behind. You still have that in those videos?
Oh, it's the same, man.
Just wood panel and an air conditioner behind you, and it's super successful. So I'm really happy for you, and I'm really happy you're out there because I've learned a lot of shit from you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
My pleasure. More plates, more dates on YouTube, Instagram, everywhere.
Yep, exactly.
That's it.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Awesome.
All right. Bye, everybody.